A strong gust of wind rippled through the dense forest, snapping branches and rustling leaves. Satsuki Uchiha crouched beneath a thick bush, her sharp eyes scanning her surroundings. That wasn't natural. This has to be the work of another team, she thought, her mind racing. It hadn't even been a full day since the second exam started, and her team was already under attack. Earlier, a named nin had ambushed them, disguised as their teammate, Naruto Uzumaki. Fortunately, Satsuki's keen eyes caught the deception immediately. The imposter had a scratch on their cheek, something Naruto had received from the proctor, Anko Mitarashi. Additionally, the fake's weapon holster was strapped to the wrong leg. The details gave them away, allowing the team to subdue the attacker and locate the real Naruto, who had been tied up nearby. To prevent further tricks, Satsuki insisted on creating a lengthy, convoluted password that only she, Naruto, and Sakura Haruno would know. She deliberately made it difficult, knowing Naruto's tendency to forget details. If he managed to recite it perfectly, it would undoubtedly signal an imposter. But now, after a powerful wind attack had scattered the team, Satsuki found herself alone, her senses on high alert. At this rate, surviving even one day in this forest will be a miracle, she thought grimly. A faint rustle behind her snapped her out of her thoughts. She spun around, kunao in hand, ready to strike. Relief washed over her when she saw Sakura approaching, though she didn't lower her guard just yet. Satsuki. What was that? Sakura began but stopped short when Satsuki raised her kunao defensively. Stay right there. Satsuki ordered sharply. First, answer the question, when does a ninja strike? Oh, right. Sakura stammered, quickly composing herself. A ninja strikes when the moment is right, when the enemy is vulnerable, when their guard is down, and their weapons are forgotten in the stillness of the night. Satisfied, Satsuki relaxed slightly. Good. Now we just need to find Naruto. Before they could continue, the sound of hurried footsteps reached their ears. Naruto burst through the trees, calling out to them. Hey. Satsuki. Sakura. Are you two okay? Don't come any closer. Sakura warned immediately. What's the password? Naruto froze, his face scrunching in concentration. Oh, yeah. A ninja strikes when the moment is right, when the enemy is vulnerable, when their guard is down, and their weapons are forgotten in the stillness of the night. He delivered the line flawlessly, much to Sakura's relief. But Satsuki's expression darkened. Without hesitation, she hurled her kunao directly at him. The supposed Naruto yelped and leaped out of the way, narrowly avoiding the blade. Satsuki, what are you doing? Sakura exclaimed, shocked. He got the password right. Are you insane? You could have killed me, the fake Naruto shouted, panic etched on his face. Satsuki, however, wasn't fooled. She drew another kunao and fixed the imposter with a cold glare. You're quicker than the last one, but you're still not very smart. Naruto wouldn't remember a password that long, let alone recite it perfectly. Sakura's eyes widened as realization dawned. She's right. There's no way Naruto could have remembered that. And on top of that, Satsuki continued, your reaction was too fast. The real Naruto wouldn't dodge like that, he'd probably try to block or counter. The fake Naruto's shocked expression melted into a sinister grin. Clever girl, they said in a voice now unmistakably feminine. A cloud of smoke enveloped them, revealing the true form of their assailant, the kunoichi from Kusagakuer, the one who had caught Anko's kunao earlier. Interesting tactic, the Kusanin remarked, her eyes narrowing. But tell me, why create a password your teammate couldn't possibly remember? Satsuki smirked. Because it wasn't meant for him. It was meant to catch someone like you off guard. The kunoichi's expression darkened as she removed her hat, her gaze fixed on the two girls. Impressive, she said, her tone laced with menace. But let's see if your sharp tongue can save you now. This is quite impressive. You haven't let your guard down at all, have you? This might turn out to be far more entertaining than I originally expected, the mysterious kunoichi said, her voice tinged with amusement, her unnaturally long tongue slipping out in a way that sent chills down Sakura's spine. She's way too unsettling. And if Naruto isn't here, where could he possibly be? Sakura thought anxiously, dreading the idea of him being captured or worse. Satsuki and Sakura froze when the kunoichi discarded her hat with a dramatic flourish, reaching behind her for something. Their eyes widened in disbelief as she revealed an earth scroll, the exact scroll they needed. Oh, I bet you'd love to get your hands on this earth scroll. It would pair so perfectly with that heaven scroll you're carrying, wouldn't it? The kunoichi's mocking tone carried a twisted amusement. Before the stunned genin could react, she opened her mouth, extending her tongue to coil around the scroll, swallowing it whole. What on earth? Satsuki thought, utterly bewildered. She had seen strange things as a shinobi, but this was on another level. Well, when all is said and done, one of us will have both scrolls, the kunoichi declared, her tone now carrying a deadly edge. The genin tensed as an ominous aura seemed to emanate from the woman, and the smile that spread across her face promised nothing but malice. And the other? Dead? With those chilling words, the oppressive wave of bloodlust surged forth, hitting the girls like a physical force. Both Satsuki and Sakura felt their breaths catch as a horrifying sense of impending doom washed over them. Neither of them could move as vivid, horrifying visions of their own deaths assaulted their minds. They could feel every wound inflicted on them, see their blood splattering across the battlefield. Each imagined demise was worse than the last, until the final vision of kunai hurtling toward their foreheads left them gasping for air. As the suffocating pressure finally ebbed, the two genin stumbled back, gasping in terror. Was that a genjutsu? Satsuki wondered as her legs gave way, forcing her onto her hands and knees. Her stomach lurched, and she vomited violently, her body rebelling against the sheer horror of what she had just experienced. But even as her rational mind tried to make sense of the situation, she knew the truth: this wasn't merely genjutsu. This was something darker, something primal. No, it's not just that. This is pure bloodlust. The same kind I felt from Zabuza, but this is so much worse. I didn't just think I was going to die, I felt it. Every single way she could kill me. Satsuki's thoughts were frantic as she tried to collect herself. Sakura, she rasped, glancing at her teammate. But her heart sank when she saw the pink-haired girl frozen, trembling uncontrollably. She didn't even seem to hear her. Useless. She's completely out of it. Satsuki grit her teeth, realizing that they had to escape. Fighting wasn't an option, not against this monster. As Satsuki looked back at the kunoichi, her blood ran cold. The woman's dark smirk told her everything she needed to know. They weren't up against an ordinary shinobi, this was a predator, and they were her prey. HMHMHM. Paralyzed by fear, are we? The kunoichi taunted, savoring their helplessness. Move. Move, damn it. Satsuki screamed internally, willing her trembling hand to inch closer to her kunai holster. Just a little more, come on, yes, she thought triumphantly as her fingers finally grasped a kunai. Slowly, shakily, she began to stand. Impressive. What will you do now, I wonder? The kunoichi mused, clearly intrigued by Satsuki's defiance. But just as Satsuki rose to her feet, the killing intent surged again, freezing her in place. I can't move, she thought in growing panic. No matter how much she struggled, her body refused to obey her commands. Don't worry, the kunoichi said with a cold smile. I'll make it quick. But then again, you already know that, don't you? You've seen it for yourself. The kunoichi began to advance, pulling out two kunai. The sight of the weapons made Satsuki's heart race, and she felt a fresh wave of fear as the woman's words sank in. This is it. This is how we die, Satsuki thought grimly as her life began flashing before her eyes. But then, in a desperate burst of determination, she acted. With all her willpower, Satsuki forced her kunai downward, stabbing herself in the leg. The sharp pain jolted her body, breaking the paralysis. Ignoring the agony, she lunged toward Sakura, grabbing her teammate just as the kunoichi's kunai flew toward them. Satsuki leapt into the trees, moving as fast as her legs could carry her. The kunoichi didn't pursue. Instead, she glanced at the blood left behind and the kunai embedded in a nearby tree. A dark smile spread across her face. A clever move. Overcoming fear with pain. It seems this prey might be more interesting than I thought, she mused, her excitement growing. The chase begins. The kunoichi growled with excitement, leaping into the trees. With Satsuki and Sakura. Satsuki gasped for air as she perched on a tree branch, her legs trembling from exhaustion. Her eyes were glued to the kunai embedded in her thigh. Satsuki. Sakura's voice broke through her haze as the pink-haired girl shook off her fear. But her concern turned to shock when Satsuki, teeth clenched in pain, yanked the kunao out of her leg. "Are you okay?" Sakura started, only for Satsuki to clamp her hand over her mouth. Her dark eyes darted around nervously, knowing their pursuer could be close. "We can't stay here. We need to escape." "But where?" "There's no safe place in this forest." Satsuki's thoughts raced, her usually calm demeanor replaced by growing dread. "I've never seen Satsuki like this. She's scaring me," Sakura thought, her panic rising as the Uchiha's unease infected her. Suddenly, a large shadow loomed over them. Sakura turned her head, her face paling as she saw the massive snake approaching. She struggled against Satsuki's grip, trying to warn her. "Satsuki! A snake!" Sakura finally shouted, freeing herself from Satsuki's hand. Satsuki spun around, her crimson cherry non flaring to life. The enormous serpent lunged toward them, but they barely managed to leap out of the way in time. Cursing under her breath, Satsuki landed on another branch, her breathing ragged. But before she could recover, the snake attacked again. Her vision swam as she saw not the snake but the kunoichi chasing her. "Stay away!" Satsuki screamed, hurling shuriken with wild desperation. The weapon sliced through the serpent's head and neck, causing it to collapse over a nearby tree, its hissing fading into silence. Satsuki landed on another branch, staring down at the lifeless creature. Relief washed over her briefly. The snake's body began to crack open, and emerging from its corpse was their pursuer, her tongue flicking out as her wicked laughter filled the air. "I can smell your fear and desperation," the kunoichi taunted, her serpentine body coiling around the trees. Prey should never lower its guard, even for a moment, in the presence of its predator. Satsuki froze as the predator lunged, her mind blank with terror. She could only scream as the kunoichi closed in, her snake-like form rushing toward her. Suddenly, a volley of kunao and shuriken zipped through the air, embedding themselves in the tree in front of the kunoichi and halting her advance. "Looks like I made it just in time." A voice rang out, and all three turned to see Naruto standing on a branch, his expression confident. "Naruto!" Sakura called, relief flooding her voice. "You took your time," Satsuki muttered, her tone annoyed but grateful. Naruto smirked. "A little gratitude wouldn't hurt." "Oh, and about that stupid password you made, I forgot it." Satsuki and Sakura exchanged a brief look of irritation but knew it had to be him. Meanwhile, the kunoichi eyed Naruto with curiosity and recognition. The Kyuubi's vessel, and the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. She studied him closely, intrigued. While many dismissed the boy despite his lineage and status as a Jinchuriki, the kunoichi wasn't foolish enough to underestimate him. The Uzumaki clan's mastery of sealing techniques was legendary, so much so that their skills had united entire nations in fear to destroy them. If he had inherited even a fraction of that power, he was not someone to take lightly. Perhaps there's more to him than meets the eye. If nothing else, he could be entertaining, she mused, a devious glint in her eyes. Satsuki's sharp voice cut through the tension. "Naruto, you have no idea what you're dealing with. Run. Leave while you can." The kunoichi smirked, her voice dripping with mockery. "Impressive. You defeated my summon. I must admit, I'm curious about you." Naruto narrowed his eyes at her, determination burning in his gaze. "You sent that snake after me, didn't you? Well, that means you're next after I deal with that thing. Especially after you targeted my teammates." Naruto shouted, anger flaring as he glared at the kunoichi. Satsuki and Sakura stared at him in disbelief. Satsuki's thoughts raced. He doesn't understand. He has no idea who we're dealing with. What do I do? Panic gripped her as she searched for a way to escape this dire situation. Then it hit her there was only one way to get out alive. Resolved, she deactivated her Sharingan and spoke. "You can have it," Satsuki declared, shocking Naruto, Sakura, and even the kunoichi, though the latter's surprise quickly turned into curiosity. Satsuki reached into her pouch and pulled out their heaven scroll. It was a bitter choice. Giving up the scroll meant forfeiting the exam, but survival was the priority. "This is what you're after, right? Fine. Take it and leave us alone," Satsuki said firmly, her voice trembling just slightly. "What? Are you out of your mind, Satsuki? We're just going to hand over the scroll. No way. What's wrong with you?" Naruto barked, his disbelief evident. Shut up and stay out of this. Satsuki snapped, glaring at him. What? Naruto growled, clenching his fists. The kunoichi smirked. How wise of you. Sometimes, prey that knows its limits will trade something valuable to escape the predator's claws. Despite her words, her true intentions remained hidden. Take it. Satsuki said, tossing the scroll toward the kunoichi. Before the kunoichi could grab it, Naruto darted past both her and Satsuki, snatching the scroll midair. He landed against a tree trunk, then sprang to a branch next to Satsuki. The kunoichi's eyes narrowed. He's fast. Stop playing the hero, Naruto. Just stay out of this and let me handle it. Satsuki shouted, frustration boiling over. Before she could finish, Naruto turned and struck her squarely in the face with his fist, sending her tumbling off the branch. Satsuki managed to flip midair, grabbing a lower branch to steady herself, staring up in shock. You idiot. You don't know what you're doing. Satsuki yelled, angered and bewildered by his actions. Naruto glared back, breathing heavily, his fists trembling. Maybe I don't, but I know who I am. You, on the other hand, I'm not so sure about. How do we even know you're really Satsuki? Satsuki and Sakura both froze, stunned by his accusation. What the hell are you talking about? Of course it's me, you moron. Though why I even bother reasoning with you is beyond me. Satsuki shot back. Liar. Naruto roared, his voice shaking with emotion. You might look and sound like Satsuki, but the real Satsuki wouldn't surrender. She wouldn't hand over our scroll. Satsuki stared, speechless. Naruto continued, his voice unwavering. I don't care how bad this fight seems. Giving up the scroll? Surrendering? Since when did Satsuki Uchiha become a coward? You think I don't get it, but I do. What's stopping this creepy ninja from taking the scroll and killing us anyway? The kunoichi chuckled darkly, drawing their attention. Ah, the boy is sharper than he looks. It's true I could kill you all and take the scroll regardless. She raised her arm, revealing a summoning tattoo. As she prepared to bite her thumb, Naruto didn't hesitate. Pulling out a kunai, he charged forward. Try it. Naruto yelled, his determination shining through. No, Naruto, stop. Run. Satsuki screamed, her voice laced with desperation. If she won't act, then I will. Naruto thought, refusing to back down. The kunoichi paused, intrigued by his audacity. Deciding to test him, she refrained from summoning another snake, opting instead to observe his next move. Naruto whirled his kunai, but she effortlessly dodged, leaping into the air. Take this. Naruto shouted, quickly pulling out 6 shuriken and flinging them toward her. The kunoichi swiftly drew a blade, deflecting the incoming shuriken with precision. To her surprise, they erupted into plumes of smoke, revealing themselves as disguised shadow clones. 3 of the clones grabbed the others and launched them toward her. As the clones closed in, she deftly caught one by the ankle as it attempted a head strike, using its momentum to flip over it before dispelling it with a sharp kick. Turning swiftly, she hurled her kunai, dispelling a second clone as it struck its mark. Got you now. Shouted the third clone, throwing a punch at her as she landed on a tree branch. Smirking wickedly, the kunoichi caught its fist effortlessly. No, I've got you. She countered, pulling an explosive tag from her pouch and slapping it onto the clone's chest. A quick kick sent it hurtling into the remaining clones just as the tag detonated, erasing them all. Naruto attempted to sneak up behind her, but she caught him by the neck. However, in an instant, he was replaced by a log equipped with an explosive tag. Startled, she jumped away just before the tag detonated, shielding herself from the blast. Where is he hiding now, she thought, scanning her surroundings for any sign of him. Who's got who now, you creep? Naruto yelled, diving toward her from above and hurling a kunai. She glanced up, narrowing her eyes. Effortlessly, she snatched the kunai midair and smirked, throwing it toward another Naruto lurking below. Nice try, but you're still too predictable. She taunted, having sensed his presence below while dismissing the Naruto above as a mere clone. But as the kunai struck its target, the Naruto below dispersed into smoke. Before she could react, the real Naruto delivered a solid punch to her from above, sending her plummeting toward the ground. He tricked me. The real one was above all along, she realized, flipping midair to land gracefully. How about that? Naruto said smugly, while Satsuki and Sakura stared in disbelief. He actually managed to land a hit on her. Satsuki thought, stunned. Impressive. You managed to surprise me. Perhaps your parents are proud of you, the kunoichi remarked with a sly grin, noting Naruto's sudden flinch before he charged at her. I don't need anyone's approval. I'll defeat you on my own. Naruto shouted, swinging a punch, which she easily deflected. Did I hit a nerve? Is that why you became a shinobi seeking validation, desperate for attention? She teased, dodging his kick and countering with a spinning strike to his chest. Naruto collided with a tree but vanished in a puff of smoke. The kunoichi blocked another punch from Naruto, only for him to grab her arm and swing his leg toward her head. Anticipating the move, she raised her other arm to block and caught his leg. Using her strength, she hurled him into the air and leaped after him. You're always trying to stand out, craving the spotlight. That's a terrible quality for a ninja. You make yourself an obvious target, she remarked mockingly. Gritting his teeth, Naruto twisted in midair, aiming a punch at her face, which she intercepted. You don't know anything about me. I'll become Hokage to protect the people I care about. Naruto yelled, flipping to land a kick aimed at her chin. The kunoichi bent backward unnaturally, avoiding the attack, before countering with a kick that sent Naruto hurtling into a tree. He managed to regain his footing by sticking to it, glaring fiercely at her. Hokage? You? Don't make me laugh. From what I've seen, you lack the qualities of a leader. Drawing attention to yourself like that during the first exam and again before the second, it's foolish. And who are these, precious people, you speak of? You seem utterly alone, without family or friends, she sneered, her words cutting deep as Naruto's eyes momentarily flashed red. Shut up. He roared, surging toward her with unexpected speed. She sidestepped his strike, but he wasn't finished. Twisting in the air, he hurled another kunai, which she dodged with ease. However, this kunai also released a cloud of smoke, and the real Naruto reappeared in its wake. Grabbing his fist mid-punch, the kunoichi froze when she noticed an explosive tag affixed to his chest. Her eyes widened as the tag activated, and she was flung from her perch as the explosion rocked the area. I have people who matter to me. I have Satsuki, Sakura, Kakashi-sensei, the Hokage, and all my friends. I'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe because that's my way of the shinobi. Naruto declared, leaping at the female shinobi and aiming to land a kick on her head. The kunoichi intercepted his attack, catching his leg midair and yanking him closer. Her fist collided with his face, sending him flying backward into a tree. He hit the trunk hard and slumped onto a branch with a grunt. Your so-called shinobi way? How laughable. Is this the same sensei who tossed you into these exams, sending you straight into my hands and to your doom? Truly, how thoughtful of him to enroll 3 untrained, inexperienced genin into a competition where death is almost guaranteed. Her voice dripped with sarcasm as she continued. And the Hokage? Don't be so naive. To him, every shinobi is just a tool, a pawn to be discarded when broken. You're not special, just useful. Otherwise, why would he bother keeping an eye on some no-name orphan like you? Naruto growled, rising to his feet as his glare bore into her. Shut up. He snarled through gritted teeth. Why? Does the truth hurt? She pressed, her smirk widening. You're alone, utterly, and completely alone. Deep down, you know it. It must burn, knowing your value comes only from what's inside you, not anything you've accomplished. Without that beast, you'd have nothing. No one would care, and you'd be left with just yourself for company. Her words seemed to strike a nerve as Naruto froze, his fists trembling at his sides. Then, an ominous red energy began seeping from his body. His nails sharpened into claws, his canines extended into fangs, and his whisker-like scars grew darker and more pronounced. When he lifted his head, his now crimson eyes gleamed with rage and bloodlust. Satsuki and Sakura stood frozen, their expressions betraying their shock at the sudden transformation. What is this? This overwhelming malice, pure hatred. Is this the power he unleashed back in the land of waves, thought Satsuki, her hands trembling as she recalled the dark energy. That aura, that red chakra, where is it even coming from? Sakura wondered, her knees threatening to buckle. I'll tear you apart. Naruto growled, his voice distorted with a guttural ferocity. The Kunoichi's smirk widened in amusement. She bit her thumb and smeared the blood across a marking on her arm before forming a series of seals. Then let's finish this, she declared. Summoning Jutsu. A massive serpent appeared with a resounding hiss, its sudden materialization creating gusts of wind that hurled Naruto backward. The snake wasted no time, lunging at Naruto with its jaws wide open. But the transformed Naruto moved with incredible speed, vanishing in a blur and reappearing beneath the serpent's head. His fist connected with the underside of its jaw, launching the beast skyward and sending it crashing through the canopy above. Without pause, Naruto leapt onto the serpent's body, dashing along its scaly back with the speed and agility of a predator. He's either completely consumed by the beast's instincts or teetering on the edge of control. Let's see which, the Kunoichi mused, her eyes narrowing as she dodged his feral swipes with calculated precision. Naruto's claws slashed through the air as he spun to deliver a kick aimed at her head. She blocked the blow with her forearm and retaliated with a counter-attack, but Naruto twisted midair and evaded, flipping backward onto the snake's back. The Kunoichi somersaulted over him, aiming to strike his back mid-jump. Yet, to her shock, his hand shot up to grab her ankle, slamming her down onto the serpent's body with an echoing crash. He spun and sent her hurtling into a nearby tree. Grunting from the impact, the Kunoichi landed on a branch and steadied herself just as Naruto leapt from the serpent, which was thrashing wildly. Take this! Naruto roared, his fist slamming into the serpent's head with enough force to drive it through several trees. It seems he hasn't completely lost himself, but just how much control does he have? The Kunoichi wondered, a plan forming in her mind. She turned toward Satsuki, a devious glint in her eyes. Kill the girl, she commanded the serpent. The enormous snake hissed loudly, its eyes snapping open as it obeyed. With a powerful swing of its tail, it swatted Naruto aside like a ragdoll, sending him crashing through the forest canopy. The serpent then lunged at Satsuki, who froze in terror as its massive fangs descended toward her. No. Not again. Satsuki thought, struggling desperately to move, but her body refused to obey as the serpent closed the distance between them. Satsuki. Sakura's voice trembled with terror as she saw her teammate's life hanging by a thread. In the split second before the snake could strike, Naruto appeared in front of Satsuki. He drove two Konoha into the serpent's head, stopping it in its tracks. Both Satsuki and Sakura stared in stunned disbelief at his feat, while the mysterious woman observed with a growing interest. He can already tap into the power within him and retain some level of control. Fascinating. His raw abilities may lack refinement, but his sheer potential and unpredictability are formidable. He could prove to be an exceptional candidate for my mark, she mused, a sly smile playing on her lips. Hey. You okay, scaredy cat? Naruto asked with a cocky grin, turning to Satsuki. His words hit her like a lightning bolt, mirroring the ones she had thrown at him after saving him during their earlier mission. Now, she found herself on the receiving end. Naruto, she thought, her mind flashing back to her own words. Standing there frozen like a frightened rabbit. Come on, you're not the Satsuki I know. The Satsuki I know would never give up or let fear control her. She wouldn't let anything hold her back. Prove to me you're not some imposter. Naruto declared, his fiery gaze locking onto hers. His words stoked a fire within her. They echoed deeply, painfully similar to something her brother once said, that she was a coward, unworthy of his time. Summoning her resolve, Satsuki clenched her fists, vowing to prove both Naruto and herself wrong. She wouldn't be frozen by fear again. But before she could act, the strange woman struck, her unnaturally long tongue shooting out and wrapping around Naruto's torso, lifting him into the air. Ugh, what the hell? Let me go, you freak. Naruto shouted, wriggling in disgust and frustration. My. You certainly are intriguing, Naruto. Such untapped potential in someone so young. But you'll never reach it while shackled to this village, the woman purred, her tone dripping with false sweetness as she raised her hand, dark energy swirling around her fingertips. 5 ominous purple flames ignited on her fingers as she pressed her hand against his stomach, her actions deliberate and precise. What are you? Naruto began, only to cry out in agony as the energy disrupted the seal on his body. 5-point seal. She declared, cutting off his connection to the power within. The sudden loss of energy caused Naruto to revert to his normal state, his body limp and unconscious. With a flick of her wrist, She tossed him aside like a ragdoll, his body crashing against a tree branch. The woman approached his still form, her neck elongating unnaturally before biting into his shoulder. Naruto let out a strangled cry as pain rippled through his body. 3 dark, claw-like marks formed around the bite, radiating an ominous energy. A fitting gift, the woman mused, her voice laced with satisfaction. This mark will serve you well, if you survive it. She smirked at her handiwork, knowing full well the mark she bestowed was unlike her others. This seal was imbued with volatile energy that had consumed all previous recipients. But she had no doubt Naruto's unique constitution and latent potential would endure the process. Turning her gaze to Satsuki, she smirked. Now, what will you do without your protector? Satsuki's fists trembled, her anger igniting. The fear that had paralyzed her before was gone, replaced by determination. Her Sharingan blazed to life. I'll start by incinerating you, she declared, gripping a kunai tightly and lunging forward. The woman chuckled darkly. At last, her blood is boiling. Now, let's see what this Uchiha is truly capable of. She dismissed the snake with a wave, knowing she wouldn't need it for the coming clash. Satsuki leaped into the air, releasing a flurry of kunai. The woman effortlessly sidestepped each projectile, her movements fluid and unhurried. Flipping behind her, Satsuki kicked off a tree to propel herself forward, striking the woman's raised arm with all her strength. Satsuki didn't hesitate. She launched another powerful kick, flipping over the kunoichi's attack, narrowly avoiding her leg as it swung up at her. Landing on a nearby branch, she immediately performed a backflip to maintain some distance, while the kunoichi rushed toward her. They both collided in midair, with Satsuki attempting an axe kick that the kunoichi blocked, pushing her back in the process. The raven-haired girl quickly hopped backward, narrowly dodging the kunoichi's sweeping kick. Satsuki countered with a quick punch, which was blocked, followed by another punch that met the same fate. She then spun and kicked up at the kunoichi, but the kunoichi sidestepped just in time. Next, the kunoichi attempted a stomp with her leg, but Satsuki managed to evade it easily. Dodging another kick, Satsuki blocked the subsequent punch before ducking again to avoid another strike. With fluid motion, she sidestepped the kunoichi's next leg swipe and followed up with a spinning kick. The kunoichi leapt into the air, avoiding the attack altogether. When she landed behind Satsuki, the kunoichi disappeared in a blur of speed, making it difficult for Satsuki to keep track of her. Her eyes widened as she focused harder. Despite the kunoichi's speed, Satsuki's Sharingan allowed her to track her movements. I can see, Satsuki thought as she jumped back just in time to avoid the kunoichi crashing down on top of her. I can see. The thought resonated within her as she formed a quick hand sign, determined to make her next move count. Fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu, Satsuki declared, launching a massive stream of flames directly at the kunoichi. The fire swirled around the enemy, seemingly consuming her. However, when the flames cleared, the kunoichi had vanished, having burrowed into the branch to escape. Satsuki prepared herself as she waited for the next move, both combatants now in a tense standoff. Impressive. Her Sharingan is more than enough to track my movements despite only having 2 tomo. The kunoichi mused, observing Satsuki's skill with admiration. She's improving rapidly. Satsuki leapt around the kunoichi, her eyes searching for an opening to strike, but the kunoichi matched her movements. The kunoichi then made her own hand sign. Wind style, Great Breakthrough. The kunoichi unleashed a violent gust of wind at Satsuki, but the Uchiha avoided the blast, watching as it demolished a nearby tree. Quick to react, Satsuki vaulted over the kunoichi, landing on the underside of a branch before springing into action. She darted at the kunoichi with incredible speed, catching her off guard. Satsuki latched onto the kunoichi's torso with a powerful leap, sending both of them plummeting toward the ground. I've got you, Satsuki yelled, slamming the kunoichi's head into a branch with incredible force. The impact cracked the branch beneath them, and Satsuki heard the unsettling sound of bones snapping. Cautiously, she jumped back, unsure if her attack had been fatal, but not willing to take any risks. The kunoichi, however, suddenly dissolved into a puddle of mud. A mud clone, Satsuki realized. She must have used a substitution technique. Suddenly, Satsuki was bombarded with kunai from an unknown direction. She dodged, quickly reacting by tying ninja wire to a branch. With precise movements, she swung herself into the line of attack, landing on another branch, searching for the kunoichi's whereabouts. But before she could locate her, the kunoichi appeared before her, landing a brutal punch to Satsuki's face, knocking her backward. Satsuki! Sakura called out in worry as the kunoichi closed in on her teammate. Such a disappointment. The Uchiha bloodline deserves better. Perhaps the Uchiha clan should thank me for putting an end to your miserable existence, the kunoichi taunted, smirking at Satsuki. But before she could land another strike, an explosion erupted behind her, throwing her to the ground while Satsuki soared into the air. Satsuki launched multiple shuriken at the kunoichi, but they weren't aimed to strike, just to distract. As the kunoichi reacted, Satsuki deftly manipulated the wires attached to the shuriken. The kunoichi's eyes gleamed. Impressive. The manipulating windmill triple blades technique. She commented, recognizing Satsuki's clever distraction before moving in to counter-attack. However, the wires had already wrapped around the kunoichi's body, restricting her to the tree. Satsuki gritted her teeth, biting down on the wires and quickly going through another set of hand signs. Fire style, Dragon Fire Jutsu. She shouted, releasing a massive stream of fire along the wires that scorched the kunoichi's body. The flames tore through the tree, incinerating everything in their path. The kunoichi screamed in agony as the fire engulfed her. She did it! Sakura exclaimed, watching in awe as Satsuki's relentless determination led her to victory. As the flames finally died down, Satsuki saw the smoldering remains of the kunoichi's body and the charred tree. Panting heavily from the exertion, Satsuki felt both relief and exhaustion wash over her. Sakura rushed to her side to check on her teammate. Satsuki! You did it! Are you alright? Sakura exclaimed, smiling at her teammate, though her expression shifted to concern upon noticing Satsuki's exhaustion. But before either could react, the sound of snapping wires echoed through the air, and suddenly, both genin found themselves immobilized. Impossible! Satsuki muttered, clenching her teeth in disbelief that the kunoichi had somehow survived. Such skill with the Sharingan at such a young age. You truly are an Uchiha. Yes, you will be quite useful, the kunoichi said, her voice gradually shifting to a raspy, male tone. Satsuki gritted her teeth as she gazed at the kunoichi, realizing that she was indeed still alive. The kunoichi had changed her headband from the Kusa symbol to one with the Oto insignia. Additionally, part of her face was melted away, revealing a new, unfamiliar face underneath one with pale skin, a golden eye with a slit pupil, and purple markings surrounding it. You're definitely his sister. If anything, your eyes are even sharper than Ataka's, the kunoichi remarked, much to Satsuki's shock, revealing that this person knew her older brother. Who are you? What do you want? Satsuki demanded, her voice filled with urgency. The kunoichi only smirked at her. What I desire will have to wait for another time. After you complete your test. You and Naruto, the kunoichi responded cryptically, before making a hand sign. Her neck suddenly shot toward Satsuki. Unable to react in time, Satsuki was struck by the kunoichi's attack, as the kunoichi sank her teeth into her neck, leaving behind 3 black tomo in a circular formation. The curse seal of heaven, just like Naruto's curse seal of hell. These two will bring about great things, the kunoichi thought, before releasing her grip on Satsuki's neck, leaving the Uchiha writhing in pain and collapsing unconscious. Satsuki! Sakura cried in shock and horror before glaring at the kunoichi. You, who are you? What did you do to Naruto and Satsuki? She demanded, her voice trembling with anger. The kunoichi chuckled darkly. To Sakura's horror, the kunoichi reached up and tore her face off, revealing a completely different one underneath. My name is Orochimaru. As for what I've given them, just a few little gifts. Soon enough, both Naruto and Satsuki will come seeking me. They will crave the power I can offer, as well as the truths I will reveal to Naruto, truths that have been hidden from him. For now, I am pleased with the power they've demonstrated. I look forward to seeing them use my gifts, Orochimaru explained before sinking into the ground, leaving Sakura stunned and speechless. Shaking her head, Sakura swiftly moved to gather Satsuki and began making her way toward Naruto's location, knowing she needed to get her teammates to safety before anything worse happened. Meanwhile, with Orochimaru. This worked out much better than I had expected, Orochimaru thought, a pleased smirk crossing his face. He knew the seeds had been planted to draw both Naruto and Satsuki to his side. Though Satsuki would eventually come to him out of sheer desire for more power to defeat Itachi, Naruto would require a different kind of nudge. Orochimaru had already figured out the exact push needed, based on what he had learned about the Uzumaki. Before long, Orochimaru found the Odo team, jumping down in front of them. The team members were shocked at their master's sudden appearance and quickly knelt before him. "What do you need us to do, Orochimaru-sama?" Dosu asked, eager to receive their next orders. "Not all of you, just you, Kin," Orochimaru replied, catching them off guard, particularly Kin, who was surprised to be singled out. "Oh, of course, Orochimaru-sama. Whatever you need me for." Kin stammered, standing up at his gesture to follow him, while Dosu and Zuka remained where they were. Orochimaru led Kin away from the others, ensuring they wouldn't be overheard. "I have a special task for you, Kin, and for Teiwa as well," Orochimaru said, causing Kin to be even more surprised. "What do you need us to do, Orochimaru-sama?" Kin asked eagerly, thrilled to be given an important mission and even more excited that she would be working alongside Teiwa. "The two of you are to seduce Naruto Uzumaki and bring him to Oto willingly. If necessary, you may even sabotage the assassination of Satsuki Uchiha to gain his trust. Whatever it takes to make him join us," Orochimaru instructed, much to Kin's dismay. Are you sure, Orochimaru-sama? That loud-mouthed kid? You really want him to join Oto? He doesn't seem special at all. I'd be surprised if he even survives this forest," Kin questioned, unsure about why Orochimaru wanted them to go after someone she considered so unremarkable. Given all she'd witnessed from the start of the Chunin exams, as well as the time when she and her teammates had observed the interaction between Team 7 and the Suna team before their own encounter, the blonde with whisker marks didn't seem like much of a threat to her at all. However, the raven-haired girl stiffened and lowered her head when Orochimaru fixed her with an intense gaze of disapproval. "You seem to have forgotten the importance of not judging someone based solely on appearances," Orochimaru spoke coldly. "Take Tsunade, for example. Despite being far weaker than she once was, she still possesses the raw strength to bring down a building with the flick of her finger. And Jiraiya, though a fool in his youth, he grew into one of the most powerful shinobi in existence, able to fight against S-class ninjas and emerge victorious. Now, tell me again, do you still believe Naruto is insignificant based on what you've seen, and doubt my reasoning?" Kin swallowed hard, nervously understanding the dangerous situation she was in. She quickly answered, knowing how harshly Orochimaru dealt with those who displeased him. "And no, Orochimaru-sama, I understand now. I'll do my best to get close to Naruto Uzumaki and bring him to Oto," she responded, acknowledging Orochimaru's wisdom. Just because the whiskered blonde seemed unimpressive didn't mean he lacked potential. "Good. Now return to your team, but keep this mission to yourself," Orochimaru instructed. He knew Dosu and Zuka would likely meet their end when they confronted Naruto and Satsuki once their curse seals activated. Either it would be at the hands of the Uzumaki and Uchiha, or Kin would eliminate them herself to gain Naruto's trust and pave the way for her mission. "Yes, Orochimaru-sama," Kin replied, bowing respectfully before heading back to her teammates. As she left, Orochimaru's thoughts turned to another matter. Now, to deal with Anko, he mused to himself, preparing for the reunion with his former student. She had convinced herself she was the hunter now, but he had a message he needed her to deliver to his old mentor. "You've already lost, Sarutobi-sensei. You just don't realize it yet," Orochimaru thought with malicious satisfaction, already plotting how to bring Naruto under his control. He now had knowledge of Naruto's greatest fear, autophobia, the fear of being alone. That fear made sense, given Naruto's isolated childhood, where he was cut off from his peers, leaving him desperate for attention, even negative attention. Orochimaru was exploiting this weakness by having Kin and Teiwa gain Naruto's trust. The more they got close, the more hesitant Naruto would be to fight them, even after realizing their true allegiance. He would fear being abandoned, which played perfectly into Orochimaru's hands. And with Satsuki, Naruto's only true friend, eventually seeking power from Orochimaru, her bond with Naruto would ensure that both of them would end up in his grasp. Where one went, the other would follow. You could have done more to stop that weakness from festering, Sarutobi. But now, it will be the very thing that leads Naruto to me, and Konoha will fall, Orochimaru thought with glee, anticipating the future and the chaos that awaited the Hidden Leaf. In a different section of the Forest of Death, Team 9, which consisted of Hinata Hyuga, Shino Abarame, and Kiba Inyazuka with his canine partner, Akamaru, were swiftly moving through the trees. They were doing their best to get closer to the tower, hoping to encounter another team along the way. But mostly, they wanted to create as much distance as possible from the Suna team. Am I the only one freaking out right now? That sand kid just wiped out the AIM team, even after they were about to hand over their scroll. Kiba exclaimed, his voice tinged with panic as he could still sense the lingering blood from the massacre they had witnessed. Gaara of the Suna team had ruthlessly crushed the AIM team with his sand. Akamaru barked in agreement, still shuddering from the dark aura Gaara emitted, while Shino subtly tensed, recalling just how close they had come to being killed. Hinata, too, shivered at the memories of the screams. It's clear those Suna ninja are far stronger than typical genin, with that sand reacting automatically to any attacks. I don't think any other participant in the exams would stand a chance against Gaara, and that's not even factoring in what his siblings might be capable of. If they're even half as strong as him, we're in real trouble. Shino said, his voice heavy with doubt that any of the other genin could survive a fight against Gaara. Why yeah. I hope we don't have to face them. Hinata stuttered, her anxiety rising at the thought of having to face the Suna team. No kiddin'. If the next exam round involves fighting, let's just agree to forfeit if we get matched up against that Gaara guy. I'd rather lose than end up crushed. Kiba added, both Shino and Hinata nodding in silent agreement, knowing that forfeiting would be their only option if faced with Gaara. Let's just hope we don't cross paths with them. Wait. Shino suddenly stopped mid-movement, causing both Kiba and Hinata to halt as well. What is it, Shino? Hinata asked, puzzled as she looked at him. Kiba sniffed the air and froze, his expression tense. There's another team. Kiba started, but was quickly interrupted when a flurry of kunai were thrown at him, pinning him to the tree by his jacket and pants. Kiba! Hinata cried in alarm, rushing to her teammate, but she froze when she saw her cousin, Niji Hayaga, land behind Shino. 8 trigrams 32 palms. Niji called out as he quickly moved to strike 2 of Shino's tenketsu. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 8 trigrams 32 palms. Niji finished his series of strikes, sending Shino flying off the tree branch and crashing into another nearby tree. And Niji? Hinata gasped in disbelief, unable to comprehend why her cousin would attack her and her team. She hadn't expected him to turn against fellow Konoha ninja. Niji glared at his cousin but seemed pleased with himself for locating her in the forest, unwilling to let the opportunity slip to take her out of the exams. Hoof, save yourself the embarrassment, Hinata-sama. Just hand over your scroll. Fate has already decided you're not meant to advance in the exams, and I can't promise your safety if you refuse. Niji said, his tone cold as Kiba glared at him while Shino struggled to get up, his chakra points sealed. Hey, jerk. How about you try fighting someone who can actually give you a fight? Kiba yelled, still trying to free himself from the kunai. Before he could act, however, Niji's teammate Tenten appeared, holding a kunai to his neck. Don't even think about it. Tenten warned with a scowl, upset at the situation, though she knew they didn't have much of a choice. Well? Hand over the scroll, now. Niji demanded, his eyes narrowing as he waited for Hinata's response. Hinata hesitated, torn between her desire to continue the exams and prove her strength, and her fear of causing more harm to her teammates. She didn't want either Shino or Kiba to suffer further, and they all knew that they had no other choice. With a heavy heart, Hinata reached into her pouch, pulling out the Heaven Scroll, which she had been carrying due to her quiet nature that often went unnoticed. Here. Hinata said quietly, resigning to the situation. At that, Tenten stepped back, and Lee grabbed the Heaven Scroll, giving them both the scrolls needed to advance in the exams. They had avoided conflict, at least, but Tenten and Lee's reluctance was clear. They didn't want to take a scroll from fellow Konoha ninjas. It's at least not for nothing. Tenten remarked, nodding in approval as they completed their task. A wise choice, Hinata-sama. Perhaps now you will start accepting the fate that has been decided for you, Niji remarked before he and his teammates swiftly departed. I am sorry, Hinata murmured, going to help free Kiba from the kunai, then lifting Shino. Do not apologize, Hinata. We couldn't have predicted an ambush from another Konoha team, nor that your cousin would target us, Shino replied, with Kiba agreeing. Yeah, there wasn't much we could do, especially after we were lucky to escape with our lives earlier. I guess just getting eliminated is better than ending up dead. There's always next time, Hida said, focusing on the positives as they made their way back towards the exit. With Team 9. It wasn't long before Team 9 reached the tower, no longer needing to worry about their next move since they had both scrolls in hand. Could we really not have gone after a different team, Niji? Tenten asked as they entered the tower, her expression showing her displeasure. What does it matter which team we get a scroll from? As long as we have both the heaven and earth scrolls, the rest is irrelevant. Besides, being from the same village doesn't give anyone immunity from being targeted. We could have just as easily been attacked by another team from Konoha, Niji stated, focusing on the fact that they had succeeded in obtaining both scrolls, making their method irrelevant. Still, it's quite unyouthful to ambush our comrades. It would have been better if we had at least faced them in open combat, where both sides had a chance to earn the scroll, Lee noted, preferring fairness in combat. You both should just. Niji started, only to stop abruptly, narrowing his eyes. Tenten and Lee followed his gaze. There's someone else here, Niji observed, sensing a presence in the tower. The three of them scanned the area for the source of the disturbance when they heard footsteps, followed by the arrival of the Suna team. Temari and Kankuro smirked, clearly pleased with their success. Sorry to disappoint if you were hoping to get here first, Kankuro said, making his way past Team 9. I'm more surprised that anyone else is here already. I thought it would take a team at least another day, Temari remarked, her eyes on Gaara, knowing he could pass the exams in no time. Lee, Niji, and Tenten stood in stunned silence, amazed that the Suna team had arrived before them. It hasn't even been a full day yet, Lee said, his disbelief evident. Just how strong are they? Tenten muttered under her breath, observing the Suna team. The one with the gourd, he's unscathed, Niji said, eyes narrowing as he assessed Gaara. He could feel the undeniable strength radiating from him, sensing the true danger that lay ahead. With Sakura. After retrieving both of her teammates, it took Sakura some time to carefully navigate the forest, eventually finding a hollow tree to shelter them. She gently placed them down and began tending to their injuries, all while noticing their high fevers. Sakura placed damp cloths on their foreheads in an attempt to bring their temperatures down. The only thing that seems better is their breathing. But their fevers, and the marks on their necks. I don't know what's going on with them, Sakura thought, staring at Naruto and Satsuki in concern. Neither of them appeared likely to wake up anytime soon. The only movements they made were occasional shivers and involuntary twitches, signs of their worsening condition, which only made Sakura more anxious. Naruto's condition is worse than Satsuki's, Sakura noted, her gaze lingering on the whiskered blonde as he occasionally thrashed in discomfort. She held him down to prevent further injury. Drawing closer, Sakura examined the mark on Naruto's neck, which appeared similar to the one on Satsuki's, though still distinct. The differences only served to heighten her confusion and worry about what had happened to them. Are these seals of some sort? Orochimaru said they were gifts, but who knows what that really means. They could be for controlling Naruto and Satsuki, or worse, turning them into monsters. I can't do anything but try to keep them from dying. Sakura thought, feeling utterly helpless. Sakura quickly dabbed their foreheads again as both of them shivered, hoping they would wake up soon. Little did she know, something was unfolding within their minds. Satsuki's mindscape. Foolish little sister, I almost feel sorry for you. Mange Kyoshari non. No. Stop it. Stop it. Not again. Satsuki screamed, clutching her head as she watched Ataka slaughter everyone, over and over again. Shisui, Izumi, Uncle Tiaki, and Uroshi, their parents, everyone kept dying, no matter how much Satsuki begged for it to stop. Why? Why is this happening? Make it stop, please. She cried, collapsing to her knees, eyes tightly shut, but unable to escape the horrific vision. To test the limits of my abilities, it's of great importance. Shut up. You're insane. Satsuki shouted, trying to block out Ataka's cold voice, but as her eyes unwillingly opened, she saw him standing directly in front of her. The sight of her older brother caused Satsuki to stagger back, before she turned and fled, tears streaming down her face as she cried in fear. Stay away from me. I don't want to die. Satsuki screamed, her heart pounding with dread at the thought of Ataka killing her next. She tripped, collapsing onto her hands and knees as she saw Ataka appear before her, his presence sending a wave of terror through her. I've played the part of the older sibling you longed for, but there was a reason for that. I needed to understand your true strength. You have a unique potential that I must test. I'm not some experiment for you or anyone else. I'm going to destroy you. Satsuki shouted, her eyes burning with hatred as she glared at her older brother. You've grown to hate me now, haven't you? That's exactly what I wanted. That desire to defeat me, it will make you stronger. I'll allow you to live, but you must first take the life of your closest companion. Only then will you be worthy of Mangekyou Sharinon. You must kill them, just as I did. No. I'll never be like you. I will never harm those I care about. Satsuki protested, her voice trembling, her mind reeling at the thought of killing Naruto. But before she could say more, Itachi drew his sword, and Naruto appeared before him, kneeling helplessly. Then you're not ready to face me, little sister? Itachi sneered. No. Satsuki screamed, rushing forward to stop him, but it was too late. Itachi's blade fell, ending Naruto's life right before her eyes. Satsuki's horror intensified as everything reset, finding herself once again in the room where Itachi stood over their slain parents. The cycle repeated, forcing her to watch the massacre unfold again and again. Please, stop, please, make it end. Satsuki whimpered, covering her ears and curling into a ball, desperate to escape the endless nightmare. No matter how hard she tried to look away or close her eyes, she was forced to witness the slaughter of everyone she loved, again and again her clan, Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi, every person she cared about falling at Itachi's hands. You could have saved them. Satsuki opened her eyes shakily, only to see her 7-year-old self standing in front of her. You could have saved them, but you did nothing. You stood by while they were killed. That's not true. I tried to stop Itachi. I fought him. Satsuki pleaded, trying to explain herself. But you ran from him. You ran like a coward. And when you see him again, you'll run again, because you're afraid. And everyone will die because of it. No, he won't. I'm not afraid, and when I find him, I will kill him. Satsuki yelled, shaking her head, determined to end it all. You won't. You're weak. You're nothing but a failure. That's all you'll ever be, weak and powerless. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Satsuki shouted, trying to block out the voice. You'll always be weak unless you take power. Accept the power. Embrace it. Become the Avenger you've always wanted to be. Satsuki's eyes slowly opened as she gazed at her younger self, who now smiled darkly, her golden eyes glowing with slit pupils and black flame-like marks spreading across her body. Come, Satsuki, accept the power I offer. Become so much stronger than you ever could have in Konoha. Become the weapon you were always meant to be. Naruto's mindscape. Look, there he is. He's the one who caused the fourth Hokage's death. Stay away from him, that boy is dangerous. Why is he even here? He's a plague. What a nuisance. He's so annoying. Shut up. I'm not a nuisance or a plague. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto shouted, trying to outrun the whispers and voices, but they just followed him. There he is. That boy, he's the one who failed. He got what he deserved. Just imagine what would happen if he actually became a ninja. He's the one who. SHH. We can't talk about that. Why? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Naruto stammered, dropping to his hands and knees, wiping his eyes as he felt himself shrinking. This is pointless, Naruto. Even though you're the one who messes everything up, we're the ones who suffer. Are you really trying to make us hate you? A voice taunted. Just go back to your seat, and we'll continue. Another added. This guy's such an idiot, it's pathetic. But still hilarious. One voice laughed. You're just wasting our time and making things worse for everyone else. Another voice chimed in. Just leave me alone. Naruto muttered, his mind clouded with confusion as shadowy figures surrounded him, turning their backs and leaving him alone. Hey. Naruto's attention snapped to the voice, finding himself back in his apartment. His younger self stood there, along with the Sandaime Hokage. Why don't I have a mother and father? Didn't I tell you before? A long time ago. That's not what I want to hear. You're just talking about when that demon called the Kyuubi attacked, right? But that's not what I'm asking about. I want to know, who were my parents? What kind of people were they? There's no point in asking about that. It won't bring anyone back. Old man. Naruto thought, stunned that the Hokage would say something like that when all he wanted was to know about his parents, what they were like. But instead, all he was told was that it wouldn't bring them back. Are you really surprised? When has he ever done anything for us? Naruto blinked in surprise when his younger self appeared before him. His eyes were now solid red with black sclera. He never explained why we were hated. It took someone from the inside to tell us about the Kyuubi. He didn't help us in the academy, even knowing about the Kyuubi and how the teachers treated us. We failed the clone jutsu 3 times, but someone who can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu passes with ease. And our parents, all we got was that they're dead, and he wouldn't even say if they cared. We were just tools to him and the rest of the village. Stop it. Naruto said, covering his ears, not wanting to hear this. Why not? You know it's true, I know it's true, even that Kunoichi knows it's true. The Hokage never cared about us beyond how useful we were. Why should we keep doing things for him or this village, when they've done nothing for us? These people want to fear and hate us, so why not give them something to fear? Become what they always saw us as, a monster. Naruto saw his younger self smirk, darkly, as black claw markings spread across his body. No. I won't become that. I'll show everyone that I'm Naruto Uzumaki, not the Kyuubi, not a monster, not a demon, just me. Naruto shouted, shaking his head, refusing to become the villain they all saw him as. But you know I'm right. That's why, you won't stop this. His younger self suddenly transformed into dark energy, rushing toward Naruto and engulfing him. Naruto screamed as the darkness merged with him. Reality. Sakura moved to wipe Naruto's and Satsuki's foreheads, growing worried when she felt their increasing temperature. She gasped in shock when she saw Naruto's skin turning pale. No, 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 no. Please don't be dying. Sakura thought, panicking that Naruto could be on the verge of death. Her relief came when she saw he wasn't dying, but instead, his hair began to fade from its usual blonde to pitch black. Sakura looked confused, noticing the strange transformation. She then glanced at the curse seal of hell on his neck. What's happening to him? Sakura wondered, leaning closer, trying to figure out what was going on. Meanwhile, Team Doso was watching from above, hidden in the trees, avoiding detection. We found them at last, Doso said, pleased they had tracked Satsuki down. All right, we'll strike at dawn, as Orochimaru-sama ordered, Doso continued, making Zuka's cough. I don't understand why we have to wait. We could take her out right now while they're asleep, Zuka said, itching for the chance to kill. And risk triggering any traps. Or what if they're expecting an ambush? No, we'll strike when they're waking up. They won't be as prepared, and we won't have to worry about any surprises. Remember, our only target is the Uchiha. The others don't matter, Dosu explained, knowing killing Konoha's last Uchiha would cause enough trouble without going after the others. But if they try to stop us, we can kill them too, right? Zaku asked eagerly, hoping for more action. Of course. If they interfere, they'll be dealt with, Dosu agreed. While her teammates discussed their mission, Kin was lost in thought, wondering how to handle her own situation. I can't let them kill Satsuki or attack those 3. It would ruin any chance I have of gaining that kid's trust. I can't just turn on them either, it would be suspicious. I need to get close to him without anyone suspecting me of any ill intentions. I can't talk about my mission either, or they'll blow it for me. Kin looked at Dosu and Zaku, realizing what she had to do to ensure they wouldn't harm Satsuki or cause trouble for Team 7. Orochimaru-sama instructed me to get close to that Naruto boy, no matter the cost. So, apologies, not really. Kin thought, quietly slipping behind Zaku and Doso, making sure to keep her movements silent as she pulled out a few of her senbon, which lacked bells to avoid detection. She didn't feel any guilt for what was about to happen. After all, the only reason they had formed a team in the first place was because of their mission to eliminate Satsuki and contribute to the upcoming invasion. With that mission no longer relevant to her, Kin didn't hesitate to do whatever necessary, even if it meant eliminating her teammates. In an instant, she threw multiple senbon aimed at the backs of their heads and necks. Ensuring that if they weren't dead on the spot, they wouldn't have time to retaliate. Kin didn't stop until Zuko and Dosu had both collapsed, lifeless on the branch. With a final swift motion, she slit their throats to be sure. Now, how should I approach them? Kin wondered, glancing down at Team 7, contemplating how she would approach them without raising suspicion. She needed a believable story for why her teammates were dead, one that wouldn't reveal her true intentions. Meanwhile, Orochimaru watched Kin's actions with detached amusement, observing her murder her teammates via one of his summoned snakes. Kin certainly knows how to follow orders well. Orochimaru mused, intrigued by her decisiveness. Having instructed the Ravenet to get close to Naruto, Orochimaru felt a sense of satisfaction that she was fulfilling his wishes. Now, all that remained was to see whether she could actually gain Naruto's trust or if he would need to rely on Teiuya to get close to him. That task should be handled soon enough, while Anko will be informing Sarutobi-sensei about the consequences of canceling the exams. Meanwhile, Satsuki now bears my mark. Orochimaru smirked, remembering how easily he'd dealt with his former student. He relished the thought of Sarutobi thinking he was only interested in Satsuki's Sharingan, completely unaware of his plans for Naruto. It's a shame I won't get to witness how Naruto and Satsuki handle the curse marks now that Dosu and Zuko are dead. Perhaps there's another team to test them. Orochimaru's thoughts turned to finding new opportunities, as his curiosity grew about a certain chakra signature. Suddenly, he sensed a remarkably powerful chakra nearby. While it wasn't quite on the level of a Jonin or Umbu, it was much greater than any typical Genin's reserves. Interesting. This could be worth investigating. Orochimaru thought, turning toward the source of the signature with renewed interest. It didn't take long for Orochimaru to find the source. He came upon another Kusa team, but it was the third member that truly captured his attention. The girl was around 13 years old, with pale skin and striking crimson eyes. She wore narrow brown glasses and a mesh shirt, along with a purple skirt, a light brown short-sleeved jacket with an orange stripe across the chest, and black sandals. The Kyuzagaku or headband adorned her forehead. But what truly intrigued Orochimaru was her shoulder-length crimson hair, a color indicative of only one clan. A Uzumaki? Here, in Kusa? This is certainly unexpected. Orochimaru thought, smiling darkly. This development would be far more useful than sending just any team to challenge Naruto and Satsuki. Someone's here. The Uzumaki girl cried out, her eyes widening as she stared directly at Orochimaru. Impressive. She can sense me, even while I suppress my chakra. Orochimaru mused before dropping down in front of the Kusa team, enjoying the look of fear on their faces as they recognized him. It was clear that the two boys were planning to hide behind their teammate, likely using her as a shield or willing to sacrifice her for their own survival. Well, what do we have here? 3 Kusa genin, alone in such a dangerous place. What a pity if something were to happen to you, Orochimaru taunted, a cruel smile stretching across his face as he fed off their fear. One of the genin, trembling, drew his sword in a desperate attempt to defend himself. Back off. The boy stammered, trying to stand his ground against the legendary Sunin. Orochimaru chuckled darkly. Oh? You think you can fight one of the Sunin? Are you prepared to die by my hands? The air around Orochimaru grew thick with killing intent, paralyzing the genin with fear. I've already wiped out one Kusa team. Their leader, Shior, was begging for his life as I took his face for myself. I wonder if you'll scream the same way, Orochimaru taunted, savoring the terror he was instilling in them. The remaining genin pulled out an earth scroll, holding it out shakily. Wait. Take the earth scroll. Just please, don't hurt us. They pleaded, desperation evident in their voices. Orochimaru's smile only widened. HM. And what makes you think I care about your scroll? I'm not participating in these exams. It holds no value to me. His gaze flickered to the Uzumaki girl, wondering if they would try to offer her up instead. But perhaps I can be of some help. While it's clear you 3 will likely fail the exams, that doesn't mean you need to return to your village in disgrace, said Orochimaru, making them regard him warily. Why would you help us? Questioned the sword-wielding genin. Why does anyone do anything? Boredom, entertainment, for fun? It could be for any number of reasons. What you should be asking is, are you interested in what I have to say? Orochimaru asked with a smirk, while the 2 male genin exchanged uncertain glances. The red-haired girl didn't take her eyes off the Sunin. Smart girl, she's the only one not looking away. Thought Orochimaru, knowing how dangerous it is to let your guard down against a threat. What do you have tea to offer? The second genin asked, making Orochimaru's smirk widen. I'm sure you noticed that orange-wearing genin at the start of the exams, the one who enjoys talking and taunting others. What if I told you that boy is of the same clan as you? Orochimaru said, observing as the two genin perked up and the red-haired girl's eyes widened. The snake Sunin noticed a flicker of hope in her expression, likely because she thought she might have a living relative, assuming she was an orphan. He took note of the faint marks on her arms and legs. Ah, so that's why Kusa has an Uzumaki. They're using her chakra and life force to heal their injured ninja. Likely killing her parents in the process from transferring too much chakra to wounded fighters. They're using her the same way now. Thought Orochimaru, shaking his head at such foolishness. They had one of the last remaining Uzumaki in the world only to kill her off for short-term gains. Ignoring how valuable a living Uzumaki could be beyond just being a chakra battery. But it seems they only see the immediate benefits, ignoring her long-term potential. They'd probably do the same thing to Naruto as well. Orochimaru thought, finding it morbidly fascinating how foolish they were with their greed. But more than that, one of his teammates is one of the last Uchiha in the world. And at the moment, both of them are too injured to defend themselves. Imagine bringing back such valuable assets to Kyuzagaku, a second Uzumaki and an Uchiha with an awakened Sharingan. You would be hailed as heroes for bringing such resources to your village. Said Orochimaru, noting the excited expressions on the two genins' faces. Where are they? The second genin asked eagerly, ready to claim the prizes. They're currently hiding in a hollowed-out tree in that direction. You'll know it when you see it. Orochimaru said, gesturing toward where Team 7 was. Right. Shigeri, Bakumaru, Karen, let's go now. We have better prizes to claim. The genin motioned for the others to follow him. Shigeri, are you sure we should trust him? What if it's just a Karen began, not fully trusting Orochimaru, sensing there was more to his story than he was letting on. But before she could finish, Shigeri grabbed her arm and glared at her. Shut it. You're not going to mess this up for us or for Kusa. The only thing you'll do is ensure we have plenty of chakra. Shigeri said, biting into her arm to refill his reserves, causing her to wince. Bakumaru followed suit, doing the same to her other arm. Yeah, so just shut up and don't get in our way. Bakumaru said before they leapt away toward where Team 7 was. Orochimaru watched them go with a dark smirk, knowing neither of the genin realized they were walking into a trap. He scoffed at one of their names. Bakumaru. Kyuzagaku really is filled with nothing but fools. Thought Orochimaru, not even surprised by such a ridiculous name. Still, he smirked, knowing this wouldn't just provide an opportunity to test Naruto and Satsuki on how they handle curse seals. It was also a way to introduce the existence of the Uzumaki clan to Naruto, hoping to turn him against Konoha. Additionally, he was curious about another theory he had regarding Teiwa. Given her red hair, high chakra reserves, stamina, and her swift mastery of Kekai ninjutsu, which had ties to Fuinjutsu, Orochimaru suspected Teiwa might also be descended from the Uzumaki clan. Something Orochimaru had been considering since Teiwa joined the Sound Village after he recruited her from the Shiin clan. She was once well known in the Land of Rice before Orochimaru's takeover and the renaming of it to the Land of Sound. As skilled individuals joined Otagaku, the rest of the people, including those like Teiwa, were left behind and became nothing more than rogue bandits. However, Teiwa had mastered their unique ninjutsu and genjutsu, as well as their memory-altering technique, which allowed her to erase memories and induce amnesia. Her impressive skills and Orochimaru's suspicions about her possible Uzumaki heritage were why he had given her a curse seal and positioned her as one of his bodyguards. Unfortunately, he hadn't yet confirmed whether she truly descended from the Uzumaki clan. But now, Orochimaru would have the perfect opportunity to verify it by sending her to get close to Naruto. It would be an interesting comparison with Karen, another confirmed Uzumaki, and also an opportunity to observe how Teiwa interacts with Naruto. This is turning out to be more advantageous than I originally expected. Orochimaru thought, a wicked grin forming on his face as he sank into the ground, eager to watch the events unfold. Later with Sakura. Sakura let out a yawn as she rubbed her tired eyes. She had stayed up all night to watch over Naruto and Satsuki, unwilling to risk falling asleep. If she did, they would be left vulnerable, and if another team or any hostile force appeared, they'd be defenseless. It doesn't seem like anything has changed. But at least their fevers are going down, so that's a relief. Sakura thought as she checked on her teammates. Though the fever had subsided, they still seemed to be in pain, their bodies shaking from the effects of the curse marks, leaving her worried about what was happening to them. Huh? What kind of lookout is this? Just some useless girl. A voice said, making Sakura tense and quickly turn around, pulling out her kunao. She saw Shigeri, Bakumaru, and Karen standing across from her, and her expression darkened at the sight of more Kusa ninjas. Are they working with Orochimaru? Sakura wondered, unsure if they were aware of Orochimaru's connection to their village or if they were working for him. Let's just kill her quickly. The sooner we get those two back to Kusa, the better, Bakumaru said eagerly, drawing his sword while Sakura's eyes widened. They're going after Naruto and Satsuki. Sakura thought, feeling a surge of anger at the idea of her teammates being taken. Wait. Shigeri said, halting Bakumaru before he could move forward. You're not just a pathetic lookout, you can't even hide a trap properly. The dirt's color shows it's been freshly disturbed, and this grass doesn't grow here. You should actually hide your traps better. But there won't be another chance for you, Pinky. Shigeri mocked before he and Bakumaru leaped into the air, avoiding Sakura's trap. Who said that was the real one? Sakura said with a smirk as she cut a wire, causing a massive log to swing down toward them, catching them by surprise. What? Another trap? Bakumaru exclaimed as the log came crashing toward them. That won't work on us, trash. Shigeri shouted, forming hand seals before unleashing a stream of fire that cut right through the log, leaving Sakura stunned as her trap was destroyed. Huh. Like we'd fall for something so basic. Now it's time for you to die. Bakumaru sneered, raising his sword to strike Sakura, who was paralyzed with fear. But before either of them could land their attack, the sound of bells ringing echoed through the air, and both ninjas cried out as senbon pierced them. They collapsed to the ground, clutching their heads in agony from the ringing in their ears. Don't ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for you, Kin said, dropping down in front of Sakura with a wicked grin, much to Sakura's shock. You. Sakura spat, confused and suspicious as she saw one of Orochimaru's ninjas helping them. Why are you helping us? She demanded, her distrust growing. Why should I help trash like you? Because it's fun watching you think you're tough. I love showing weaklings their true place, Kin replied with a sadistic grin, throwing more senbon at the Kusan ninjas. But they managed to escape with a substitution jutsu. Why are you helping us? Is this a game Orochimaru is playing? And what are those marks he put on Naruto and Satsuki? Sakura pressed, her suspicion now focused on Kin. Kin raised a brow at her, playing dumb. What are you talking about? Why would I know about a Sunin? Don't act like you don't know. Sakura shot back. He was wearing an Odo headband when he bit Satsuki. I know he's connected to your village. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he's your village's leader. So, what's he planning? Look, I honestly don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen, nor met, the leader of Odo. The closest we've come is dealing with their guards, who relay their orders. That's all I know. As for the marks on your teammates, I have no clue what they are. Kin replied, subtly channeling her chakra through her voice, weaving a sound-based genjutsu to make Sakura believe her words. Despite her confusion about the marks Orochimaru placed on Naruto and Satsuki, she suspected they were a part of his plan but had no understanding of their purpose. Sakura frowned at Kin's response. The Ravenette seemed genuinely baffled and her tone didn't carry any hint of deception. She really doesn't seem to know anything. And if she's telling the truth about never meeting Orochimaru, could he be some sort of hidden leader in Odagakuer? Hiding behind someone else? Sakura pondered but quickly pushed the thought aside. It wasn't the time for theories. Fine. But that doesn't mean I trust you. Sakura finally said, causing Kin to roll her eyes. I couldn't care less if you trust me. But how about showing some gratitude for saving your life? Kin said with a smirk. Sakura bristled at her tone. I don't need your pity. Could have fooled me, you hardly seem like a real kunoichi, Kin said, taking in Sakura's appearance. You probably spend more time fixing your hair and makeup than training. Your look says it all. I'm a ninja, just like anyone else. Sakura shot back, feeling her irritation rise. Kin just chuckled. Sure, sure. Before Sakura could respond, Shigeri shouted, both of you are pathetic if you can't focus in the middle of a fight. Earth style, earth flow spears. He slammed his palms into the ground, causing stone spikes to shoot up towards them. Kin and Sakura leapt to dodge the attack. I was focused, I just don't bother with weaklings. Kin taunted, hurling several senbon at Shigeri. The Kusa ninja gritted his teeth as the sound of the bells filled the air before he swiftly dodged. Do you really think you can hit me with that? Shigeri sneered before shouting, wind style, breakthrough. He released a gust of wind that blew away the senbon. Kin steadied herself, chakra flowing into her feet to keep her grounded. Oh, I'm terrified of a man turned into a human dartbird. Kin mocked, tugging on the wire attached to her bells to cast another genjutsu. Shigeri screamed and covered his ears as the bells rang once more. Sakura, meanwhile, had dodged the spikes and landed on solid ground. Her eyes widened as she sensed movement behind her. I've got you now. Bakamaru sneered, swinging his sword down at Sakura. She quickly substituted herself with the log. Over here. Sakura called, charging at Bakamaru and throwing a kunao, which he easily deflected with his sword. Do better, though I don't expect much from a weakling like you. Bakamaru taunted, rushing forward. Sakura quickly formed hand seals. Clone jutsu. She said, creating two clones who charged alongside her, but Bakamaru sneered. Illusions won't fool me. He yelled, tossing two kunao at the clones, causing them to vanish. Bakamaru slashed at Sakura with his sword, but she used a substitution jutsu again. His anger was starting to show. Behind you. Sakura called from behind Bakamaru. He turned, slashing at her only to find she had once again swapped herself with a log. Stop running and face me, coward. Bakamaru shouted, losing his patience. If you insist. Sakura said from above, causing Bakamaru to scoff. I'm not falling for that trick again. Bakamaru said, throwing a kunao up at where he expected her to appear, scanning the area for any sign of her. To his surprise, he screamed as a kunao cut into his arm, followed by Sakura landing on top of him. You wanted me to stop running. So here I am. Sakura exclaimed, delivering a punch to his face. Bakamaru screamed as his nose cracked under the force. She didn't use another substitution. Bakamaru thought in disbelief, staring at the kunao he threw now lodged in her shoulder. He hadn't expected her to actually take the hit, thinking she'd use her substitution once more. Before he could react, Bakamaru's anger erupted, and he slammed his fist into Sakura's head, knocking her off of him and allowing him to stand. You fool. I'm going to slice you into pieces. Bakamaru howled when Sakura lunged at him and sank her teeth into his arm before he could bring his sword down. The pink-haired ninja didn't let go, even as Bakamaru pummeled her head with repeated blows. Despite the blood dripping from her face, Sakura's grip only tightened, making Bakamaru scream in agony. Let's see how you like this, jerk. Thought Sakura, her hand clutching her kunao tightly. You damned woman. I'll rip your teeth out and make you regret. Bakamaru snarled, but he was cut off as Sakura plunged her kunao straight into his stomach. Who's the fool now? Sakura taunted as she finally released his arm, watching as Bakamaru stumbled back, clutching his injury. Damn you. Bakamaru seethed, but before he could retaliate, a rush of wind slammed into Sakura's body, sending her crashing across the ground. Groaning from the pain, Sakura was caught before she could fall any further. Maybe you're not as helpless as I thought, Kin observed, impressed by Sakura's unexpected ferocity. Thanks. I think, Sakura muttered shakily as she got back on her feet, focusing on the remaining enemies. Shigeri and Bakamaru, though badly wounded, were still on their feet. Shigeri had numerous senbon sticking out of his body, blood leaking from his ears, while Bakamaru appeared to be close to his end. This is almost too easy, almost, Kin remarked as she reached for more senbon, preparing to finish them off. Shigeri's scowl deepened in fury. We're going to make you regret this. Karen, get over here and heal us, he shouted, desperate. Why yeah. Karen responded as she emerged from hiding, having stayed out of the fight so far, only intending to heal her teammates. But just as Kin was about to strike, golden chains erupted from Karen's back, deflecting the senbon mid-flight. Kin and Sakura both jumped back in shock as the chains rapidly whipped toward them. What in the world? Kin thought, puzzled by the bizarre jutsu, while Sakura watched, astonished by the sheer number and length of the chains. Are those chakra chains? Sakura wondered in disbelief, marveling at the power they must have taken to summon. Karen made her way toward her teammates, but before she could reach them, Shigeri grabbed her forcefully, exposing her shoulder. Bite her now. Shigeri commanded. Without hesitation, Bakamaru lunged and sank his teeth into Karen's shoulder. She bit her lip to suppress the scream, but the pain intensified as Shigeri bit down on her other shoulder as well, draining her chakra. Sakura and Kin stood frozen in shock, watching as the wounds on Shigeri and Bakamaru rapidly healed. They're healing. Kin exclaimed, eyes wide with disbelief. That's right, Shigeri grinned, now fully healed. We're stronger than ever. Fire style, phantom fire. With a series of hand seals, he summoned several fireballs that looked like eerie, floating apparitions, sending them flying towards Sakura and Kin. Reacting quickly, both jumped away as the fireballs followed them. You won't escape. Bakamaru shouted, sending multiple small tornadoes after the two, trapping them. The wind from the tornadoes pushed Sakura and Kin back just as the fireballs reached them, causing a devastating explosion of flames and wind that surrounded the kunoichi in a raging fiery vortex. Ha ha ha. Burn, you weaklings. Bakamaru roared in excitement, eager to see their demise. You're nothing compared to the ninja from Kyuzagakur. Shigeri taunted, watching them struggle in the flames. But to their surprise, when the flames died down, 2 burned logs were all that remained. Sakura and Kin had used a substitution jutsu to avoid death, though they weren't completely unharmed. How did you two heal? Kin demanded, seeing that their enemies had seemingly become stronger. We have a personal chakra source, Shigeri smirked. All we need to do is bite her and we get our chakra back, healing any injuries and refilling our reserves. You're using your teammate to heal yourselves. Sakura exclaimed, appalled by their cruelty. How could you do that to her? She's just a tool to heal the important Kusa ninja, nothing more, Bakamaru sneered, causing Karen to flinch, while Sakura and Kin shot him a glare. Despite having no remorse for her actions toward her former teammates, Kin understood the cold reality of her situation. The bond between her and her teammates was practically non-existent. They had been strangers forced into a team for the Chunin exams. If they had been captured and taken hostage by enemy ninjas, Kin wouldn't have been surprised if they had been sacrificed just like her. In Odo, the weak had no place other than to serve the stronger. Those you could truly call allies were the ones you held dear. A red-haired woman, who played a flute, flashed through Kin's thoughts. Now I'll enjoy this much more, Kin said, determination in her voice as she threw multiple senbon towards Shigeri and Bakamaru. The only ones who are going to die are you. Shigeri shouted, performing hand seals and summoning a swirling storm of flower petals, which blew away the incoming senbon. Seeing the cyclone coming toward them, both Sakura and Kin leaped away, but their victory was short-lived when Bakamaru suddenly appeared behind them, slashing both across the back with his blade. What did you say earlier? Now it's your turn to beg. Bakamaru taunted, kicking Sakura harshly in the head, sending her crashing into Kin. Both were thrown back by the storm of petals, crashing into a nearby tree with painful thuds. Earth style, earth flow wave. Shigeri shouted, forming hand seals and sending a wave of earth crashing towards Sakura and Kin. Earth style, earth flow river. Bakamaru followed up, slamming his palms into the ground and turning the earth beneath them into mud, sending the 2 women sliding directly toward the incoming wave. The 2 kunoichi screamed as the wave hit, rocks slamming into their bodies and burying them alive. The scene sent a satisfied laugh through Shigeri and Bakamaru, proud of their handiwork. Now, let's go get Kusa's new toys, Shigeri said, a grin crossing his face as he and Bakamaru turned to seize Naruto and Satsuki. Hey! Sakura's voice rang out, making both men stop in shock as they turned to see the 2 kunoichi standing, breathing heavily, bloodied, but still alive, having barely escaped death using substitution. Sakura and Kin, despite their injuries, refused to yield. Even as their bodies ached and cracked from the earlier impact, they stood their ground. You won't be taking Naruto or Satsuki. Sakura spat, her voice shaky but determined. Yeah, you really think a couple of rocks are enough to stop us? Unless you're scared, knowing that we could still beat you, Kin added, hoping to provoke them into getting closer for her genjutsu. The mocking words only fueled Shigeri and Bakamaru's rage further. They were enraged that the 2 had survived and dared to challenge them. We don't even need to bother killing weaklings like you, Bakamaru growled, eager to slice them into pieces. But since you're so stubborn, maybe we'll just find another use for you, Shigeri said with a sick smirk, which caused Bakamaru to pause and then smile. Sakura and Kin exchanged a worried glance, knowing exactly what he meant. The dark undertones of their words sent a cold shiver down their spines. Try it and I'll rip your eyes out and make you swallow them. Kin shouted, her anger surging as she glared at them. Wind style, breakthrough. Shigeri declared, unleashing a powerful gust of wind that sent Sakura and Kin flying, crashing into another tree. They grunted, struggling to get up. But before they could rise, Shigeri and Bakamaru were upon them, kicking and stomping on their bodies with cruel force. You think you can do anything but lie there and take it? That's all weaklings like you are good for, Shigeri mocked, pressing his foot down on the back of Kin's head, smashing her face into the ground. Gee guys, don't you think this is a bit much? They're beaten, we can just Karen tried to protest, only to be slapped violently by Bakamaru. Shut up, or you'll join them. At least then you'll be useful to Kusa as another tool. Bakamaru hissed, with Karen trembling in fear at the threat. Now, let's enjoy our prize, Shigeri said, his hands reaching for the clothing of the kunoichi, his intentions clear. Just as the men approached, a dark, overwhelming presence suddenly filled the air, freezing both Shigeri and Bakamaru in their tracks. Karen, feeling the heavy aura, shuddered violently, sensing the chakra's dark nature. What kind of chakra is this? Karen thought, feeling terrified by the dark energy coursing through her. Everyone turned their attention to Naruto and Satsuki, who were emanating an overwhelming aura. Satsuki was surrounded by a dark purple chakra, while Naruto was enveloped by a mix of crimson red and pure black. What's happening? Sakura thought, alarmed by the changes in her teammates. Is this the result of those markings Orochimaru-sama gave them? Kin thought, her eyes widening as she looked at the two, sensing the same wicked energy she once felt from Orochimaru. What is this? What's going on? Shigeri demanded, glaring at Sakura and Kin, searching for an explanation. But his words were silenced as Naruto and Satsuki slowly rose, their chakra intensifying as it swirled around them. The group watched in awe as glowing markings spread across their bodies. Satsuki's body was covered with flame-like marks on her left side, while spiraling claw-shaped symbols marked the right side of Naruto's body. Satsuki's Sharingan was fully activated, and Naruto's eyes glowed blood red, his pupils turning to slits with pitch-black sclera. The two stepped out of the tree's hollow, scanning their surroundings before their eyes locked onto Sakura, who was on the ground beside Kin, with Shigeri and Bakamaru standing above them. And Naruto? Satsuki. Sakura stammered, both relieved to see them awake yet deeply concerned by their transformations. Sakura, who did this to you? Satsuki asked coldly, her voice laced with anger as she searched for those who harmed their teammate. What happened to you two? Sakura stuttered, her voice full of confusion as she noticed the strange markings covering both Naruto and Satsuki. Don't worry, we're fine. Actually, I've never felt better, Naruto responded, a dark smirk tugging at his lips. He had never felt this powerful. Yeah, this power flowing through me is beyond anything I've ever imagined. That man, he gave us this power, this gift, Satsuki added, now fully understanding her new strength. She embraced the role of an avenger, a path demanding power no matter how dark it might become. Sakura, tell us, which one of these fools did this to you? Satsuki asked, her tone eager to unleash her new strength on whoever had wronged their teammate. That'd be us. Bakamaru sneered, still shaken from the earlier shock of seeing their sudden transformation. But the Kusa ninja couldn't help but step back, instinctively feeling the overwhelming presence emanating from Satsuki and Naruto as their gaze locked on them. You too, hurt Sakura. Naruto's voice was low and menacing as his eyes narrowed at Karen, noticing the fresh bite marks on her body. And what about her? Naruto questioned, his anger rising. Why is it that she's the only one injured? Her? She's only here to make sure we're healed and our chakras full. After everything we took from her, we've got more than enough power to deal with you two. Shigeri explained, his voice dripping with arrogance as he thought they had the upper hand. Naruto and Satsuki exchanged a look, both sensing the cruelty not just to their teammate but to their own. The curse mark tattoos began glowing orange as they spread further across their bodies, intensifying the energy swirling around them. Without warning, Satsuki was gone, her speed leaving the Kusa ninja no time to react before she slammed her fists into their faces, sending Shigeri and Bakamaru flying in opposite directions. Bakamaru crashed into a tree, choking and coughing up blood. Then, in a blur, Naruto appeared before him, grabbing his jaw with a terrifying grip, lifting him off the ground. "Let's see you try biting anything now," Naruto growled darkly, before violently tearing at Bakamaru's jaw until it hung loosely from his face. Bakamaru screamed in muffled agony, unable to stop the excruciating pain as Naruto smashed his fist into Bakamaru's stomach, shattering several ribs and forcing him to vomit blood. What is happening? Sakura thought in horror as she watched Naruto's merciless actions. Her eyes widened further when Naruto forced Bakamaru to his feet, then brutally stomped on his legs, breaking both knees and causing the bones to stick out grotesquely. Sakura's attention shifted to Satsuki when she heard Shigeri's agonizing screams. She saw the Uchiha had forced him to his knees and was twisting his arms behind him, bending them in unnatural angles. "You laid a hand on my teammate and your own, so I think it's only fair that I take those hands from you," Satsuki said, smiling cruelly as she twisted Shigeri's wrists, breaking them in the process. Shigeri cried out in absolute pain as Satsuki didn't stop there, continuing to bend his arms at the elbows, forcing them to snap in half as he screamed in agony. "Please, stop, let me go, please. I'll leave, just let me go." Shigeri cried in fear, overwhelmed by what had already happened to his teammate and the horror he was experiencing. "Let you go? Poor choice of words," Satsuki said coldly, pulling Shigeri's arms, causing his eyes to widen in dread. "No. No. 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 Do it." Shigeri screamed, only for his voice to turn into an agonizing shriek when Satsuki violently tore his arms off, letting him collapse to the ground. "There, I let you go," Satsuki said, letting the severed limbs fall to the ground as Shigeri screamed in pain and horror. This is unreal," Kin thought, thankful for the mission Orochimaru had given her and how fortunate she was to avoid confronting these two. "That's beyond repair," Karen thought, unknowingly grinning at the sight of her tormentors being dismantled before her eyes. Naruto dragged Bakamaru over to where Shigeri and Satsuki were, a sinister smile on his face. Give someone false power, and they think they're unstoppable. Take it away, and they reveal their true weakness. Satsuki, since they enjoy hurting their teammate so much, let's see how they like it. Naruto grinned, his eyes cold as Satsuki lifted Shigeri back onto his knees. Yes, let's, Satsuki agreed, as Naruto positioned Bakamaru's severed jaw around Shigeri's neck, both of the boys only able to whimper. "Now, swallow," Naruto instructed, pressing Bakamaru's jaw into Shigeri's throat, causing him to choke and gag as blood flooded his mouth. With a wicked grin, Naruto tightened his grip, tearing into Shigeri's neck before ripping Bakamaru away. Satsuki let Shigeri's lifeless body fall to the ground, while Naruto plunged his hand through Bakamaru's chest, ripping out his heart. "I don't think they liked that very much," Satsuki remarked as Naruto pulled his hand out, letting Bakamaru's body hit the ground with a dull thud. "I guess not. Maybe because they're disgusting," Naruto replied, smirking as he tossed the heart aside, with Satsuki laughing at his words. "This isn't them, this can't be them," Sakura thought, her heart sinking at the horrifying sight of her teammates. "Naruto. Satsuki. Please, stop. It's over. Please, stop, just stop," Sakura cried, tears streaming down her face as she begged. Hearing her voice, Naruto and Satsuki froze, their eyes meeting her tear-streaked face. Slowly, the dark markings on their bodies receded, their curse seals fading as the strength they had gained drained away. Exhausted, both collapsed to the ground, panting heavily. What did we just do?" Naruto asked, staring in disbelief at the bloodied bodies of Shigeri and Bakamaru, shock and horror written across his face. "You just killed two scumbags who were going to harm us and use you both as pawns. I don't see why you should feel guilty," Kin responded, her voice calm despite the chaos, as she and Sakura struggled to their feet, the adrenaline from the fight leaving them with the weight of exhaustion and their injuries hitting hard. Here," Karen offered, extending her arm toward them, but both Sakura and Kin shook their heads. "No, we're not biting you. Not after what they did," Sakura said firmly, unwilling to take someone else's chakra. "Yeah, you probably don't have much chakra left anyway," Kin added, not wanting to take advantage of the redhead's offer. Don't worry. I've got plenty of chakra to spare. Besides, it's the first time I'm willingly offering it to help someone, Karen said, eager to aid them after the horrors her former teammates had caused. Seeing the sincerity in Karen's eyes, Sakura and Kin reluctantly agreed and bit her arm. They immediately felt their wounds heal, their energy returning as their chakra reserves were replenished. Thank you, Sakura said gratefully once they released her, Kin giving a nod in agreement. Naruto and Satsuki looked on, surprised at how quickly the two kunoichi had recovered, before turning their attention to Kin, recognizing her as the Odo ninja they had seen during the exams. You're the Odo ninja from the first exam. What are you doing here? Where's your team? Satsuki asked, suspicion in her voice as she tried to understand why she wasn't with her teammates, wondering if this was some sort of trap. They're dead. We were ambushed by an AIM team. Zaku and Dosa didn't make it, but I barely managed to escape, holding them off with my genjutsu long enough to get away. I was heading back to the gates since I couldn't continue, when I saw those Kusas come attacking your teammate. I figured I might as well help, Kin explained, surprising both Naruto and Satsuki. You're willing to help another team from a different village? Satsuki asked, raising an eyebrow in suspicion. They were a bunch of jerks, attacking a single genin who barely looked like she could stand. I thought it was only fair to even the odds. Besides, it wouldn't hurt to make a good impression by helping out, Kin shrugged, nonchalantly explaining her reasoning. Satsuki and Sakura still regarded Kin with some suspicion, considering Orochimaru's connection to the Odo village, making it hard to trust whether her actions were genuine or part of some scheme. However, they figured they could afford her the benefit of the doubt, especially since she had just saved their lives. Then we really owe you one for helping protect Sakura and the rest of us. Thanks, Naruto said, offering a smile but stopping as he realized he hadn't caught her name yet. It's Kin Tsuki. She replied, making Naruto grin and extend his hand for a shake. Nice to meet you, Kin. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and this is Satsuki Uchiha and Sakura Hareno. Really, thanks for the help. Naruto said, and Kin couldn't help but feel a slight twitch at the corners of her mouth. He's way too trusting, Kin thought, inwardly smirking at how easy her mission was about to become. No problem, happy to help. Kin replied, though a hint of worry crept into her as Naruto's expression shifted. Yeah. But I'm still a bit annoyed about how your team attacked Kabuto before, Naruto remarked, remembering the incident just before the first exam stage began. Well, what else were we supposed to do? He insulted our village just because it's new and small. Wouldn't you be upset if someone disrespected Konoha like that? Kin responded, trying to justify her actions, though Naruto remained conflicted. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, Naruto muttered, realizing that he might have acted the same way if Konoha was insulted. Your hair looks good, by the way. I think black suits you more than blonde, Kin said casually, nodding in approval of his new hair. Naruto blinked in surprise, reaching up to touch his hair, and his eyes widened as he noticed it had turned black. What happened to my hair? He exclaimed in shock. It changed while you were out cold. I think it's connected to that seal, Sakura explained, glancing at Naruto before examining her own curse seal. It looks good, I guess, Satsuki chimed in, agreeing that the black hair suited Naruto. Yeah, it gives you a mysterious vibe. Plus, girls love the mysterious bad boy look, and those whiskers make it even cuter, Kin said, winking at him, causing him to blush slightly. Thanks, Naruto stammered, caught off guard by her comment. What about you? Who are you? Satsuki asked, her attention shifting to Karen and her somewhat flirtatious remarks toward Naruto. Oh. I'm Karen Uzumaki, Karen introduced herself, causing a shocked gasp from Team 7. You Uzumaki. Naruto repeated, eyes wide with surprise and a glimmer of hope, wondering if they could be related. Why yeah. It's really nice to meet you. I've never met another Uzumaki besides my mom, so I'm happy to finally meet one, Karen said, smiling warmly at Naruto. It's really nice to meet you too, Karen, Naruto replied, a smile spreading across his face as the realization of having a possible relative sank in. Another Uzumaki? You mean there are more? Sakura asked in disbelief, while Naruto's hope grew at the thought of meeting more Uzumaki. There used to be many of us, even an entire village. But, The Uzumaki clan was wiped out during the Second Great Ninja War. I don't know if there are any others left, Karen said solemnly, her words weighing heavily on the group. There was Uzumaki clan. Naruto asked, struggling to grasp the idea, prompting Karen to look at him, puzzled. Yeah, there was. Didn't you know about them? Karen asked, surprised that Naruto seemed unaware, considering his background in Konoha. And no. Were they ever mentioned in the academy? Naruto asked Satsuki and Sakura, hoping to have missed something in the curriculum. No, we never heard about the Uzumaki clan, Satsuki answered, equally shocked that such an important detail was completely left out. But, the Uzumaki clan was allied with Konoha. They gave us their fuinjutsu whenever we needed it. The Uzumaki swirl is even on the backs of the flak jackets Chunin and Jonin wear. The wife of the Shodei Hokage Tsunade Senjo's grandmother was Uzumaki. You must have at least known about that. Karen exclaimed, stunned that they were so uninformed about the clan. The revelation left the four of them in stunned silence, while Kin looked just as surprised by their lack of knowledge. You really never heard of our clan? Karen asked softly, looking directly at Naruto as he seemed to tremble with disbelief. And no. I never knew anything about them. No one ever told me, Naruto stammered, overwhelmed by the flood of new information. He was from an entire clan that had their own village, once allied with Konoha. He had worn the symbol of his clan all along without even realizing it. And the Shodei Hokage's wife was Uzumaki, but no one had ever mentioned it. I have the same swirl. Naruto thought to himself, his mind racing as he looked at the back of his jacket where the familiar Uzumaki swirl had been the whole time. The old man never told me, thought Naruto, grappling with the idea that the Hokage must have known about the Uzumaki clan, yet never shared it with him. Naruto couldn't help but wonder what else the Hokage had hidden from him, especially after the last conversation he'd had about his parents. The words of that Kusa kunoichi echoed in his mind how the Hokage had viewed him as little more than a tool. A useful tool, but just a tool, nonetheless. Meanwhile, the others were equally stunned by the revelation. Satsuki, Sakura, and even Kin found themselves repulsed by the idea, an emotion that Karen shared. It seemed deeply unjust that Naruto had been kept in the dark about his own lineage, information crucial not only to his identity but his development as both a shinobi and a person. He deserved to know who he was, what his clan was renowned for, and the significance of his heritage. But instead, that knowledge had been concealed from him. Every Chunin and Jonin wore his clan's symbol, yet Naruto had never been told. Satsuki, anger brewing within her, thought about her own clan. At least she'd been raised with an understanding of her background, something Naruto had been robbed of. Was this what Orochimaru had meant by exposing the lies surrounding Naruto? Sakura couldn't fathom how something so vital had been kept hidden, especially from Naruto. He, of all people, needed to know his past. Kin was equally appalled, though her perspective was shaped by her own experiences in Otagakura, a place where clans and Kekkei Genkai users knew exactly where they came from. Even Kimimaro, who cared only for serving Orochimaru, had taken the time to understand the legacy of the Kagaya clan. Karen, too, felt disgusted. This could very well be the only family Naruto had left, and yet, he had no idea about their shared heritage. What kind of village was this? Looking at Naruto, they saw the torment on his face, the confusion, the pain, and the deep sense of betrayal. Hey, Kin said softly, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. I may not be from a clan, but I know this is wrong. No one should hide something like this from you. There's no excuse for it. And maybe this won't help much, but I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Naruto looked up at her, nodding shakily, and then turned his attention to Satsuki and Sakura, who had joined him in solidarity. If you want, once we're out of here, we can look up everything there is about the Uzumaki clan. We'll comb through the library if we need to, but we'll find something, Sakura said, her voice filled with determination to help her teammate. I can help too, Satsuki added. My clan's library has more than just jutsu scrolls. If there's anything about the Uzumaki clan, I'll find it for you. And I'll tell you everything I know about them. There's so much I can share, and I won't let you go another day not knowing about our family, Karen said, smiling warmly as she took Naruto's hand. Naruto looked at them, surprised and deeply touched by their words. The offer of help and the understanding in their eyes lifted some of the weight from his heart. Thank you, all of you. It really means a lot, Naruto said, his voice filled with gratitude. Kin then pulled out her team's Earth Scroll, her face serious. Oh, and here. Since I won't need it anymore, you guys could use it more. Karen followed suit and handed over her team's Earth Scroll. You can have mine too. Can't hurt to have a backup. Sakura smiled at the gesture, relieved that they could make progress in the exams. That means we have both Earth Scrolls. We can head to the tower now. Naruto, you have the Heaven Scroll, right? Satsuki asked, glancing at Naruto. Naruto grinned and nodded. Yeah, I got it right. But as his hand reached for his pouch, his smile faltered. It's gone. Naruto exclaimed, his heart sinking. Satsuki and Sakura's eyes widened. Did you drop it? Sakura asked, looking around. No. It was in my pouch. That creepy Kusa Kunoichi must have grabbed it during the fight. Naruto scowled, frustrated that the Heaven Scroll had been swiped. Great, so now we need to find another one, Satsuki said, her voice dripping with annoyance. Karen stepped forward, offering a solution. I can help. I'm a skilled sensor and can track down another team for you. Naruto smiled at her, grateful for the help and glad to spend more time with her. Thanks, Karen. That'll really help. You could come too, Kin, if you want. We could use all the help we can get, Naruto said, turning to the Oto Kunoichi. Kin, caught off guard by the offer, looked surprised but shrugged. Sure, why not? I've got nothing else to do, and I might as well see this thing through to the end. Alright, let's get going. We've only got 4 days to find a Heaven Scroll and finish this exam, Satsuki said. With that, the group took to the trees, moving swiftly toward their next objective. Alright, this should be enough wood for a fire, Sakura said, eyeing the pile of sticks they had gathered while Kin and Karen stood by, ready to help. Perfect timing, Satsuki replied as she and Naruto returned from the stream, their arms full of freshly caught fish. Look at this haul. Finally some good luck in this forest. Naruto said, grinning as he proudly displayed the fish they had caught. Nice work, you two. Karen cheered, smiling at her cousin and Satsuki as they helped prepare the fish for cooking by skewering them and setting them around the fire. As the fire crackled and the fish roasted, Naruto made his way to grab his clothes to get dressed, having dove into the stream earlier to catch the fish. He had tossed them into the air while Satsuki stood ready to hit them with Konoha midair. However, before he could grab his clothes, Kin placed a hand on his shoulder, pulling him back gently. You can't wear that anymore, Kin said, her voice firm. Huh? What do you mean? It's just a little dirty and torn from the forest, but it's still fine, Naruto replied, not seeing the issue. No, you can't keep wearing it, Kin insisted. The orange jumpsuit worked before with your blonde hair and light skin, but now that you've got black hair and paler skin, it makes you stand out like a target. The colors clash, and it won't blend in anymore. Naruto frowned. I still don't get the problem. The issue is simple, Sakura interjected, holding up a bundle of new clothes. Bright colors like that make you stick out too much now, with your darker features. You need something more suited to your new look. Karen, Kin, and I went through some extra clothes from the other teams, and we found something we think will work for you. Naruto's frown deepened as he looked at the pile. All of it was black, with only the silver zipper on the shirt to break the monotony. But, it's all black, he muttered, still unsure about the plain appearance. Give it a try at least, Karen encouraged with a smile. You might look great in them, and it's better for the exams. Plus, we can always go shopping after, once we're out of here. Naruto turned to Satsuki, hoping for some support. What do you think? Satsuki raised an eyebrow, her gaze unwavering. You can't keep wearing orange, Naruto. It doesn't work anymore. Just change and let's move on. See? Even Satsuki agrees, Kin said, grinning. At least wear them for now, and we'll figure it out later. We can always find something more fitting once we're out of this forest. Reluctantly, Naruto sighed. Alright, fine. I'll wear them. He changed into the new outfit, consisting of a black, long-sleeved shirt with a silver zipper, black pants, and black ninja sandals. As he stood up, the girls all looked him over. You look way better in darker colors, Kin said, nodding approvingly. Yeah, this looks much better, Karen agreed, smiling at him. Looks great on you, Naruto, Sakura added with a satisfied grin. Satsuki, giving a small nod of approval, handed him his old jacket. You can keep this, though. I'm sure I can figure out a way to make it fit into a new look later. Naruto smiled gratefully. Thanks, Sakura. The group sat around the fire, and Naruto, eager to learn more about the Uzumaki clan, turned to Karen. So, what can you tell me about the Uzumaki clan? He asked, his curiosity clear in his voice. The girls all turned to Karen, eager to hear what she had to say. Well, I don't know everything, Karen began, but from what my mother told me, the Uzumaki clan had a strong connection to the Senju clan. They were even distantly related, which is why they formed an alliance long before the hidden villages even existed. The two clans had several marriages between them, including Mito Uzumaki and Hashirama Senju. That's why Konoha uses the Uzumaki symbol on their flak jackets, it's a sign of their old friendship with Uzushiagakur. The group was taken aback by this revelation. Wait, Uzushiagakur? Does that mean the Uzumaki clan had their own village? Sakura asked, astonished by the idea. Naruto, his eyes wide, grinned. Our own village? That's amazing. Yes, Uzushiagakur was in the Land of Whirlpools, a group of islands just off the coast of the Land of Fire, Karen continued proudly. The village was on the largest island, with the smaller one at the center where the Uzumaki clan first settled. The village spread out to several smaller islands connected by bridges. The group sat in silence for a moment, absorbing the new information about Naruto's heritage. That sounds amazing. I can only imagine what Uzushiagakur must have looked like, Naruto said, picturing the lost village, but quickly remembered what Karen had said earlier about its destruction during the Second Great Ninja War. Satsuki gently placed her hand on top of Naruto's, offering silent comfort. She could feel his sadness learning about his clan only to find that they had been wiped out so long ago was surely difficult for him. Naruto gave a small smile in thanks, which Satsuki returned. They both turned to look at Karen. Did the Uzumaki clan have any unique jutsu or abilities? I mean, if they managed to create their own village, they must have been very powerful, Satsuki asked. Karen nodded in agreement. They were. From what my mother told me, the Uzumaki clan was known for its mastery of Fuinjutsu. Even the most skilled Fuinjutsu experts would pale in comparison to an Uzumaki master. Only a select few could match us in that area. We also had an exceptionally strong life force, which made us live longer and age slower. It also granted us remarkable healing abilities, allowing us to recover from injuries that would normally be fatal, Karen explained, leaving the group stunned. Whoa. Kin muttered in awe, and Satsuki and Sakura could only nod, still processing what they'd heard. Naruto, on the other hand, couldn't help but smile proudly to know how strong his clan had been. But that's not all, Karen continued. There are some abilities only a select few Uzumaki possess and I happen to have them. One of these is called the Mind's Eye of the Kagura. It turns me into a sensor that's beyond compare. Most sensors need to mold their chakra to detect things, but for me, it's instinctive. I can sense people from great distances, track them with precision, and even tell their species. I can gauge the size of a person's chakra reserves and even detect when someone's lying since their chakra fluctuates when they're dishonest. I can also sense when someone is under the effect of a genjutsu, even when it's myself. This ability lets me hide my chakra, but if I do that, I can't use it for anything else, making me vulnerable, Karen said proudly. The group looked at her with a mix of admiration and astonishment. Kin couldn't help but tense up at hearing that Karen could sense lies. She quickly wondered if the redhead had already figured out her secrets. But for now, Karen said nothing, so Kin forced herself to stay calm and resolved to be more careful with her words. Wow, that's incredible, Karen. You must be super powerful. Naruto said with a wide grin, clearly impressed by his cousin's abilities. Karen smiled warmly at the praise. Thank you, Naruto, she replied. I'm guessing those golden chains you used earlier are another one of your powers. Sakura asked, with Naruto and Satsuki turning to her, unaware of what she was talking about. Karen nodded before one of her chains emerged from her back, catching the attention of the others. Are those made of chakra? Satsuki asked in disbelief. Yeah, these are my adamantine attacking chains. Only a few Uzumaki can access them, thanks to a special kind of chakra we have, which allows us to form it into shapes like this. I can use these chains to attack, bind, and seal someone's chakra, rendering them helpless. There's an even stronger version of these chains called adamantine sealing chains, which are far more powerful. They were strong enough to restrain the Bijou, including the Kyuubi. But I've never met anyone who's unlocked that power, Karen explained, causing the group to be even more amazed. Naruto, however, tensed at the mention of the Kyuubi. He suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head, hearing an enraged roar from within his mind. The others noticed his discomfort. "Are you okay, Naruto?" Sakura asked, her voice full of concern, wondering if it was related to the curse seal. "Why yeah, I'm fine, just a headache. Anyway, what else do you know about the Uzumaki clan?" Naruto quickly deflected, eager to shift the conversation. The girls frowned, sensing that he wasn't being entirely truthful, but none of them pressed him on it, at least for now. "Well, that's most of what I know. But there's one more thing. My mother told me the Uzumaki clan was famous for their bright red hair," Karen added, catching the attention of the group. "They were known for their hair?" Kin asked, raising an eyebrow, thinking back to Teiwa and wondering if she could have been related to the Uzumaki clan with her red hair. "Yeah. While red hair can be found in other places, almost everyone in the Uzumaki clan had it, which made it easy to spot one of us. But not everyone liked it, since it stood out so much," Karen explained, her expression a bit somber as she recalled how her red hair had caused her to be treated as an outsider in Kusa. "That's ridiculous. I think your hair is beautiful, Karen," Naruto said, his voice sincere. Karen looked up, surprised by his words. "Are really?" she asked, taken aback. Naruto nodded with a smile. "Yeah, it's cool and unique. I kind of wish I had red hair like yours," Naruto admitted, imagining how he would look with smooth red hair. Satsuki and Sakura also pictured it in their minds, wondering how he would look with a different hair color. Thank you, Karen stammered, a blush spreading across her face as she subconsciously twirled a strand of her red hair. Sakura, still processing the treatment Karen must have endured, cautiously asked, "If you don't mind sharing, what was your life like in Kusa?" Karen's expression immediately darkened, which worried both Naruto and Sakura. The change in her mood was enough to make Naruto shift in his seat, sensing that her past held painful memories. "Back then." Karen's voice trembled as she hesitated, her gaze dropping to her hands. "It was like living in hell. From the moment my mother and I arrived, everything was wrong." Naruto's concern deepened, urging her to continue. "What happened, Karen?" "It was because of our chakra," Karen said, visibly struggling. "The Uzumaki clan has such powerful energy that anyone who bites us can heal their wounds and replenish their chakra. That's the only reason they let us stay in Kusa. My mother helped heal the village's wounded, but eventually, she ran out of chakra. I had to step in for her." Her voice cracked as she revealed the trauma she'd experienced. Satsuki's face hardened in anger as she spoke for everyone in the room. "That's monstrous. They used you both, just like tools, to heal others." Karen nodded, her gaze distant as the memories seemed to weigh on her. "They didn't care about us. We were nothing more than resources to them. What kind of sick people would do that?" Sakura's voice trembled with disbelief. "Taking your mother's life force, then forcing you to do the same, like you're nothing but a means to an end." Kin added, her tone somber, "And to think, things could be even worse than in Odo." Karen looked down, not wanting to revisit the painful days she had endured. It's fine. I heal quickly, that's just how it is." She forced a smile, trying to downplay the harsh truth. Naruto's anger flared unexpectedly, his fists clenching as he stood up. "It's not fine. They treated you like you were worthless. All they cared about was what you could give them. They took everything from you. And when they killed your mother, they didn't care. They just kept taking." Karen could see the flames of fury burning in his eyes, a rage she'd never seen before. It reminded her of her own feelings, of how trapped she had felt. However, Naruto suddenly stopped, clutching his shoulder as a sharp pain ran through him. His curse seal flared up, triggered by his emotional outburst. Satsuki gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "Naruto, you need to calm down. If you don't, things could get worse." Sakura added, her voice filled with concern, "We know you are angry, and so are we. But acting on that anger won't change anything. Naruto sat back down, taking a deep breath, knowing they were right. His anger, while justified, wasn't going to help Karen. Still, he locked eyes with her. "You're never going back to Kusa," he declared with a fierce determination. "Not now, not ever. I don't care who tries to send you back. I'm not letting anyone harm you again. Anyone who tries will regret it." Karen's eyes widened in shock. You'd really do that for me?" Naruto nodded, his eyes fierce with resolve. "Of course. Even if we weren't family, I'd still protect you. But we are family, and I'll make sure you never have to go through that again. You're safe now, Karen." Satsuki crossed her arms and smirked. "Don't try to talk him out of it. Once he decides something, it's like trying to move a mountain. And I agree with him, no one deserves that kind of suffering." Sakura smiled brightly at Karen. "We'll make sure of it. No one will hurt you again, and you won't have to deal with that kind of life anymore. I guess it would be fun to deal with some scum who'd abuse a little girl. Not like any loss would be too significant if they were to die," Kin stated, offering her assistance. Her disgust for Karen's treatment was genuine, and it also served to strengthen her connection with Naruto. Karen looked at the four, her eyes widening in disbelief, her heart swelling with emotion. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel manipulated or deceived, something she had grown all too accustomed to in Kusa. These people, despite just meeting her, wanted to help. Even when her own team had attacked them, they still stood by her. Thank you. Karen stammered, wiping away the tears in her eyes. She looked to Naruto, who sat beside her, offering a warm, comforting smile. "You don't need to thank us. It's what family and friends are for, taking care of one another," Naruto reassured her, causing Karen's eyes to widen in surprise. A bright smile spread across her face as she threw her arms around the whiskered young man. "Thank you, Naruto, for being so kind," Karen thought, feeling the warmth from his chakra surround her. Even with the lingering darkness from his curse seal, the warmth made her feel safe, like she was finally protected. Naruto returned the hug, while Satsuki and Sakura watched with smiles of their own, pleased that their teammate had finally found family and was discovering his origins. "What about you, Kin? What was life like in Otogakuer?" Naruto asked after they broke the embrace, his curiosity piqued by the Oto Kunoichi. Satsuki and Sakura listened intently, watching her closely to see if she would mention Orochimaru or if she was concealing anything. "Life in Oto? It's not like Konoha, that's for sure. It's not as bad as Kusa either. Here in Konoha, camaraderie and friendship seem to be important. In Oto, though, the main rule is strength rules all. If you're not strong enough, you're ignored or dismissed, but if you're weaker than others, you get pushed around or used. Trust is hard to come by because you never know if someone is being real with you or just looking to exploit you," Kin explained, making the group frown at how harsh things were in Oto. "That sounds like a terrible way to live. Never knowing if your allies are genuine or just using you," Sakura said, her face reflecting sympathy. "Maybe, but it's how things are. You learn to survive," Kin shrugged in response, knowing full well that the only way to thrive in Oto was to either be strong or get trampled. "So you didn't trust anyone?" Satsuki asked, her gaze sharp. "I didn't say that, just that trust isn't a luxury we get often. I do have one friend, Tewa. She specializes in sound-based genjutsu, using a flute to cast them. She's one of the stronger ninjas in Oto, so having her as a friend helps a lot. People tend to leave you alone when they know you have someone like her on your side. She's not just about her techniques, she can reduce someone to tears with a few harsh words," Kin said, a slight smile tugging at her lips as she thought of Tewa. "That's good to hear. It's always better when you have someone you can rely on," Naruto said, smiling at the thought of Kin having a friend. It reminded him of his own struggles with loneliness. Yeah. Despite the way things are in Oto, bonds are still important to people. The few who truly trust each other are willing to fight for those relationships. The rest? They're more concerned with their own advancement, exploiting any weakness they find, Kin continued, her words resonating with the group. The others, even Satsuki and Sakura, felt sympathy for her, despite their reservations. "I get that," Karen said softly. "But it's still no way to live, constantly being on guard, never knowing who you can really trust." Kin nodded, understanding her words. I guess that's true. But it does push you to train harder, to ensure you're strong enough to stand on your own and not rely on anyone else. By the way, you two might want to know this Teiwaya also has red hair, Kin added, looking at Naruto and Karen, causing them to perk up in interest. I'm not sure if she's really an Uzumaki. She came from the Shiin clan in the Land of Sound before joining Oda. But she does have large chakra reserves, even more than many higher-ranked ninjas in Odo. She has red hair too. So there's a chance she's an Uzumaki, though nothing's confirmed. I just thought you both would like to know, maybe she's another relative, Kin said, knowing this could intrigue them, especially considering the possibility of another family member. Naruto and Karen exchanged hopeful glances, both eager at the thought of meeting another Uzumaki, even if it turned out to be a coincidence. As the fish cooked and everyone began to eat, Satsuki's expression grew more serious. It's already been 4 days, and we still haven't come across another team with a Heaven Scroll. We only have 1 day left to find one, or we're stuck. Naruto and Sakura frowned at the thought, both feeling the weight of time running out. And we have no idea how many teams are still out there or if there are any Heaven Scrolls left to take, Sakura added, worry creeping into her voice. There has to be at least one team left holding a Heaven Scroll. We can't just give up now. Naruto exclaimed, refusing to back down after everything they had gone through. Naruto, we can't simply rely on luck and hope to run into another team holding a Heaven Scroll. After we dealt with the Kusa team that Orochimaru had disguised, we're down to 26 teams, 13 with Earth Scrolls and 13 with Heaven Scrolls. Orochimaru ate the Earth Scroll he had and stole our Heaven Scroll, which already reduces the total number of scrolls. Now we have 2 Earth Scrolls from Karen and Kin's teams. At best, 12 teams could still pass, or maybe 10 if no one takes the Earth Scrolls we have. Plus, some teams will be eliminated, even if they hold the same scroll as those who attack them, making the number of teams that pass even smaller. Sakura explained, causing Naruto and Satsuki to frown even more. There's still a possibility for one team to have a Heaven Scroll. Like you said, one team is out with Orochimaru, and you now have the scrolls from Kin's and mine teams. That leaves 10 full pairs of scrolls, with 2 additional Heaven Scrolls matching your 2 Earth Scrolls. So, if no teams have already reached the tower, there are 12 Heaven Scrolls in total, and 2 teams are likely hunting for Earth Scrolls. There are also teams with both scrolls who haven't made it to the tower yet, Karen explained, getting their attention. Why wouldn't a team with both scrolls go straight to the tower? Naruto asked, perplexed why anyone wouldn't want to finish immediately after collecting both scrolls. It's about strategic advantage. The goal is to make sure you have both scrolls, but you only pass once you reach the tower in the center. That's where most teams will converge, expecting it to be the best place for an ambush. Teams that already have both scrolls will likely camp near the tower, waiting to take down any teams that approach. It's a strategy to eliminate competitors, Kin said, knowing this was a common tactic. So if we make it to the tower, we can just wait and ambush another team to take their scroll? Sakura asked, a glint of excitement in her eyes. Except that there will be other teams trying the same thing, ready to ambush us as well, Satsuki pointed out, causing Sakura to deflate a little. You have one advantage no one else has, superior numbers and a sensor to detect them before they find us, Karen added, smiling. Team 7's spirits lifted as they realized they still had a chance. Later. After lunch, Team 7, along with Kin and Karen, made their way toward the tower as the sun began to set and night fell. They followed Karen's guidance, the redhead sensing other teams' locations and carefully avoiding them. However, Karen suddenly stopped and dropped to the ground, followed by the others. What's wrong, Karen? Naruto asked, confused. We've been caught in a genjutsu. Someone's making us run in circles instead of heading toward the tower, Karen explained, causing the group to tense in preparation for a fight. The air grew heavy as dozens of AIM ninja clones emerged from the ground and trees, surrounding the group. Karen, can you tell if any of these are real? Satsuki asked, her senses on high alert. No, the real team is hiding in the trees over there. I think they're trying to tire us out or hide their attacks behind the illusions, Karen replied, pointing towards the real enemies, leaving the group in awe of her detection ability. Perfect. Kin said, quickly launching several senbon toward the hidden AIM genin, forcing them to reveal themselves. The enemies cried out as Kin pulled the strings connected to the senbon, activating her genjutsu, causing the attackers to collapse to the ground. The surrounding clones dissipated into nothingness. Looks like my genjutsu worked better, Kin said with a smirk, pulling the strings again as the AIM genin cried out from the sound-based jutsu, falling unconscious with blood leaking from their ears. Once they were sure the enemies were out, Naruto quickly began searching their pouches for a scroll and grinned when he found a heaven scroll. Yes. We got both scrolls. Naruto cheered, with Satsuki and Sakura smiling in relief. They turned to Karen and Kin, grateful for their help. Thanks. I don't think we would have gotten through it so quickly without you two, Satsuki said, giving them an appreciative look. Yeah, we'd probably still be running in circles or fighting fake clones, Sakura added, with Kin nodding and Karen smiling in response. It's no trouble. I'm just glad we could help. Now, let's get to the tower so you three can finish the exam, Karen said, and Team 7 nodded as they set off toward their goal. Later. It didn't take long for them to reach the tower, and as they entered, they were surprised to find the room empty. Where is everyone? Naruto asked, looking around in confusion. They had expected to meet someone upon their arrival. Did we miss the deadline? Sakura asked, worried that they had arrived too late and the exam had ended. Are we supposed to wait for someone to show up? Satsuki asked with a frown. Maybe that's part of the test, Kin suggested, pointing at the board on the wall across from the door. The others turned to look at it. The group approached the board to see what it said, though none of them were sure what to make of it. If you're seeking qualities of heaven, seek wisdom to elevate your mind. If you're lacking earthly qualities, train your body and prepare for battle. When heaven and earth are united, the treacherous path will transform into one that leads to righteousness. Sakura read aloud, uncertain about the meaning. Are we supposed to solve a riddle now too? And what's this secret way supposed to mean? Naruto grumbled, frustrated that they had to deal with yet another challenge. I don't know, it seems like there's a missing word. But from the rest of it, I think it's related to the heaven and earth scrolls. We're probably supposed to open them now, Sakura concluded, believing it was time to open the scrolls. Are you sure? Satsuki asked, hesitant to open the scrolls in case it led to disqualification. I'm pretty sure. Why would they mention heaven and earth so much otherwise? Either we'll find the missing word in the scrolls or something else will happen. Whatever it is, we need to open them now, Sakura replied. Satsuki frowned but eventually nodded in agreement. Naruto pulled out the scrolls, handing Sakura the heaven scroll while keeping one of the earth scrolls for himself. They exchanged a brief look to make sure they were both ready. Then, they simultaneously opened the scrolls, only to be confused when they didn't find any writing, just a seal on both. Karen, do these look like seals to you? Naruto asked, showing the scrolls to Karen. She adjusted her glasses and examined them carefully. They do resemble seals, but they're not the typical ones you'd find on storage scrolls. More like. Karen trailed off, her eyes widening as she realized something. Satsuki shared her realization just as smoke began to pour from the scrolls. There is summoning jutsu. Naruto, Sakura, get rid of them. Satsuki shouted, and the two quickly tossed the scrolls away just as something or someone began to materialize in a puff of smoke. To their surprise, the smoke cleared to reveal their former academy instructor, Iruka Umino. Iruka-sensei. Naruto exclaimed, eyes wide in surprise. Hey, long time no see, Iruka greeted, opening his eyes and grinning at his old students. However, his smile faltered as he took in their new appearance, particularly Naruto's. It's been a while. I'd ask why you're with two foreign genin, but first, what happened to you, Naruto? Iruka asked, clearly taken aback by Naruto's transformation. The only reason he recognized him was the whisker marks and the fact that he was with Satsuki and Sakura. It's a long story, sensei, Naruto replied with a frown. Iruka nodded slowly. You've clearly been through a lot in this test, more than I expected, Iruka observed, looking at Satsuki and Sakura for confirmation. If it's okay, sensei, we just want to get this test over with and rest, Satsuki said, and Iruka nodded, assuming they had a tough time in the forest. Of course. Well, I'm sure you're wondering about my sudden appearance. Me and the other Chunin are here to greet those who passed the second exam. It looks like you've made it just in time, the last team to arrive, with only a day to spare. Congratulations, you've passed the second exam. Iruka announced, smiling at them. So, I guess if we had opened the scrolls earlier, we would have failed. Satsuki deduced, thinking that if they had opened the scrolls in the forest, they would have been disqualified. That's right. Part of the exam was to test whether you could handle a difficult mission. Simply put, you knew opening the scrolls would break the rules, and if you had tried, I would have knocked you out until the end of the exam. Some other ninja learned that lesson the hard way, Iruka said, confirming their suspicions. Hey sensei, what's that writing on the wall about? There's a missing part, and we don't understand the full meaning, Sakura asked, pointing to the board. Ah, that's actually part of my duty. The Hokage recorded that for Chunin to follow. The heaven refers to your mind, and earth to your body. If you lack wisdom and intellect, you need to work harder to learn all the necessary skills for missions. If your weakness is physical strength, you should dedicate yourself to improving it every day. When heaven and earth come together, even the most dangerous mission becomes manageable, Iruka explained. The genin listened attentively, understanding the lesson. Then what about that spot with the missing word? Sakura asked, and Iruka gave a small smile. That's for all of you to figure out. It's the symbol on the scroll for person, which is a reference for Chunin. These 5 days in the wilderness were meant to test your Chunin potential and see how you'd handle it. And I have to say, you all did exceptionally well, Iruka responded, causing Teen 7 to smile at the compliment. A Chunin is a leader, a mentor. It's their responsibility to understand the strengths and weaknesses of their subordinates and know what skills they need to succeed on missions. You all handled this mission excellently, and I want you to keep these lessons in mind for your future assignments, Iruka added, with the genin nodding, including Kin and Karen, who were starting to understand the value of his advice. That's all the explanation you need. You all look tired, so follow me, and I'll take you to a room where you can rest until the final exam starts. But, one last thing for tomorrow, don't overexert yourselves, Iruka advised, hoping they wouldn't face any more trouble than necessary. They nodded in agreement, and the 5 genin followed Iruka through the tower until they arrived at a spacious room that could accommodate all of them. Here you go. You 5 will stay here until tomorrow when you and the other finalists will be told what the final exam entails, so make sure to rest up, Iruka said before leaving them to settle in. Thank Kami it's finally over. I don't think I could have lasted another day in that forest, Sakura sighed as she plopped down onto a bed in relief. Tell me about it. I feel like I could sleep for a week, Naruto muttered, collapsing onto another bed. It's not over yet. We'll still have to wake up tomorrow to find out what the final exam is. Let's hope we get some rest before diving straight into it, Satsuki said, only to shock Kin and Karen when she began undressing. What are you doing? Kin asked in surprise as Satsuki began removing her shirt, revealing a black bra. Undressing, Satsuki replied nonchalantly as she removed her sandals and shorts, leaving her in just her black panties and bra. WWE, we can see that. Why are you undressing? Karen stammered, her face turning red, especially when Satsuki casually took off her remaining clothes, leaving her completely nude. And? It's nothing you two haven't seen in the mirror before. Naruto's seen me like this plenty of times too, so it's not a big deal. I just want to change into fresh clothes after a shower, Satsuki explained, heading toward the bathroom, leaving Kin and Karen in stunned silence while Naruto and Sakura, though blushing, didn't seem too bothered by it. How close are you 3, exactly? Kin asked, her voice trailing off as she wondered if there was something more to their relationship, and Sakura's blush deepened at the implication. It's not what you think. Sakura quickly clarified, looking at the ceiling in embarrassment. Satsuki just doesn't have a sense of shame. Naruto and we learned that the hard way when we first started living together. You 3 live together? Karen asked in disbelief, her eyes wide. Yeah, Sensei arranged it after we became a team. He thought living together would help us bond as a team. And as for Satsuki, well, she doesn't stay dressed much, Sakura explained, remembering how Satsuki would walk around in either her underwear or completely naked when they first moved in. And, nothing's happened? Kin asked, skeptical that nothing would happen, especially with Satsuki walking around like that. No, Sakura said, glancing at the ceiling, though she kept quiet about the times when it was just the 2 of them. You 2 could even stay with us if you want. We have plenty of space since it's just the 3 of us, Naruto offered, grinning at the thought of having Karen and Kin stay with them. Really? Karen responded, looking surprised, while Kin seemed to eye Naruto in disbelief. Yeah. Since you're not going back to Kusa, you'll need a place to stay, and I'd like you to stay with us. You're welcome to, Kin. At least until you head back to Oto, Naruto added, thinking Kin would eventually return to her village after the exams. Yes. I'd love to live with you. Karen exclaimed, her smile wide. I suppose so. If you're offering, it beats finding another place for the rest of the exams, Kin replied with a shrug, mentally shaking her head at how easily Naruto trusted them. Is this why Orochimaru chose me for this mission? Did he know I wouldn't need to do much to get close to Naruto? Kin wondered, now pondering if her selection for this mission was more about the ease of it than her skills. She quickly dismissed those thoughts and decided to focus on finishing her mission, rather than why she had been chosen for it. Hey, this bath is way bigger than the one at home. We could all relax here together, save some time. Satsuki called from the bathroom, prompting a glance from Sakura, Karen, and Kin as they exchanged looks. It'd be nice to unwind after being stuck in that forest for days, Sakura commented, getting up eagerly at the thought of a warm bath. Definitely. A peaceful soak with no worries about attacks would be perfect, Karen agreed, clearly enjoying the idea of a quiet moment after the long shifts she'd had at the hospital. I'm with you on that one. It's about time we take a breather, Kin added, following Sakura and Karen toward the bathroom, looking forward to the relaxation. However, just before entering, Kin paused and glanced back at Naruto, a playful smirk spreading across her face. Seeing an opportunity to keep him interested, she decided to speak up. Aren't you joining us? Kin asked, causing Naruto to jump up from his seat with wide eyes. What? Naruto stammered, startled by the unexpected question. Yeah, Satsuki didn't say anything about it being just the girls, so you're welcome to join too, Kin teased, flashing him a sly grin. Naruto's face turned beet red at the thought of bathing with 4 girls. He knew Kin had a point, considering how even back at home, Satsuki had managed to convince both him and Sakura to bathe together. Living together as teammates, she'd argued that it made sense, though it was embarrassing. And, of course, Satsuki had remained without a towel, while he and Sakura had at least wrapped themselves up. I'll just wait. Naruto stuttered, his nerves getting the better of him. Bathing with Satsuki and Sakura was one thing, but the idea of having Kin and Karen there too was too much for him. Are you sure? Most guys would love the chance to be around 4 beautiful girls. Not even a little curious? Kin pressed, watching as Naruto's face deepened in color. I am sure. He sputtered, trying to avoid the situation. Well, the offer stands, Kin said with a wink before unzipping her vest slightly, teasing him further. Just a little something to think about. She gave him a cheeky look before stepping into the bathroom, leaving Naruto frozen and speechless. Once inside, Kin noticed that Sakura and Karen had already begun undressing, with Satsuki watching. The moment Kin entered, Satsuki raised an eyebrow at her. Did you get him to come in? She asked. Kin nonchalantly shrugged. I asked him, but he turned me down. Sakura and Karen's faces instantly turned crimson. What? You actually invited him to join us? Karen exclaimed, clearly shocked by the boldness of it. Relax, he refused. I was just teasing him, Kin reassured, removing her vest and scarf, feeling less embarrassed now that the initial awkwardness had passed. I'll go get him, Satsuki said suddenly, heading for the door. The others were stunned, unsure if Satsuki was serious about making Naruto join them. What? I was just kidding. Kin protested, but Satsuki was already out the door. Satsuki, we can't just all bathe together like this with other people around. Sakura exclaimed, her face reddening even more as Karen and Kin stared at her in disbelief. You 3 do this often? Karen asked, now as red as her hair. Yeah, we do. It makes sense when we're all living together, and we don't mind getting ready together, Satsuki explained nonchalantly, heading out to find Naruto. Later, inside the bath, Satsuki sat comfortably, a relaxed smile on her face as she sat back in the large tub with Naruto, Sakura, Karen, and Kin. While Satsuki was content being completely nude, Naruto kept a towel around his waist. Sakura, Karen, and Kin were similarly wrapped, but the steam from the water kept their modesty somewhat hidden. I guess, this isn't so bad, Sakura mumbled, still blushing but relaxing as the warm water soothed her. I never thought I'd get used to this, Karen admitted, peeking over at Naruto when she thought no one was looking. I'm still surprised you three do this all the time and nothing happens, Kin remarked, still adjusting to the situation but growing more comfortable as time went on. See? No problem at all, Satsuki said cheerfully, looking over at Naruto. Hey, could you help me with my back? Naruto's eyes widened as Satsuki stood up, moving her hair aside to expose her back. The others watched in surprise as Satsuki asked Naruto to help her rather than one of them. So sure, Satsuki, Naruto stammered, walking over with the soap in hand. He carefully lathered his hands and began washing her back, trying his best to focus and not let his embarrassment take over. That feels really good. Can you press a little harder? Satsuki requested, enjoying the sensation. So sure, Naruto managed to reply, his face growing even more red as he applied more pressure. Karen and Kin both blushed, each processing the situation in their own way. She has to know what she's doing, Kin thought, wondering if Satsuki was fully aware of the effect her words were having on Naruto. Hey. This bath is way bigger than the one at home. We could all relax together to save time, Satsuki called out from the bathroom, her voice carrying over to the others. Sakura, Karen, and Kin exchanged curious glances. It would be nice to unwind in a warm bath after spending 4 days in that forest, Sakura agreed, stretching and standing up. The idea of a hot bath sounded like the perfect way to ease the tension after their long days. Definitely. After everything we've been through, it would be great to just relax without worrying about anything, Karen added, smiling at the thought. She'd always enjoyed a peaceful bath, especially after long hours working in the hospital. I'm with you all. A little relaxation never hurt anyone, Kin said with a grin before she, Sakura, and Karen made their way toward the bathroom, eager for a moment of calm. However, just before entering, Kin paused. With a mischievous grin, she turned back toward Naruto. There was a chance here to keep him intrigued, and she wasn't going to let it slip away. Aren't you joining us? Kin asked, her voice light but teasing. Naruto froze, wide-eyed. What? Well, Satsuki did say we could all bathe together, Kin pointed out. She didn't mention it being just the girls, so I'm sure you're welcome to join, too. Despite his surprise, Naruto couldn't deny that Kin had a point. At home, Satsuki had managed to convince him and Sakura to bathe together a few times, claiming it made sense since they all lived together. While it was always a bit awkward, they'd at least worn towels, unlike Satsuki, who was more confident about her lack of modesty. I think I'll wait, Naruto stuttered, his face turning bright red. Bathing with Sakura and Satsuki was one thing, but with Kin and Karen too? That was a whole new level of awkwardness. You sure? Kin raised an eyebrow. Most guys would jump at the chance to be surrounded by beautiful girls. Aren't you at least a little tempted? Naruto gulped nervously, his face turning even redder. I am sure, he managed to say, flustered. Kin sighed dramatically, feigning disappointment but still wearing a playful smirk. Well, just so you know, the offer's always there, she teased before unzipping her vest, letting Naruto catch a glimpse of her purple bra. She winked at him. Something to think about, if you're curious. With that, Kin entered the bathroom, leaving a very flustered Naruto behind. Inside, Kin found Sakura and Karen halfway undressed, and Satsuki was casually watching them. When she saw Kin enter, she raised an eyebrow at her. What's with the unzipped vest? Sakura asked, eyeing her with a mix of confusion and curiosity. I just invited Naruto to join us, Kin said with a casual shrug, making both Sakura and Karen's faces go as red as their hair. What? Karen sputtered, her face brightening at the thought of Naruto being in the bath with them. Why would you do that? Kin only smiled, taking her vest and scarf off. Relax, he said no. I was just messing with him. It's fun watching him get all flustered. Satsuki, who had been standing by, rolled her eyes. I'll go get him, she said before heading for the door, leaving the other girls in shock, especially Kin. What? I was just teasing. Kin exclaimed, realizing Satsuki was serious. Satsuki. We can't just all bathe together when there are other people around. Sakura protested, though her voice trailed off when the others gave her surprised looks. You three bathe together often? Karen asked, wide-eyed, her face now fully matching her hair. Yeah, It makes sense. We live together, and it helps us bond as a team. We can't keep waiting for one person to finish when we can all be ready at the same time, Satsuki explained nonchalantly as she left the room to find Naruto. After a few moments of quiet, Karen glanced at the others. So, nothing ever happened. The group sat in the bath, steam rising around them, with the 5 of them now in the large tub. Satsuki seemed completely at ease, without a towel, while Naruto wrapped a towel around his waist. Sakura, Karen, and Kin followed suit, each of them wearing a towel, though they still felt a bit awkward. It's not as bad as I thought, Karen said after a moment, glancing around and trying to hide her blush. She felt a little more at ease with time. I'm surprised you 3 do this often and nothing ever happens, Kin commented with a grin, still adjusting to the situation, though she was starting to find it a little easier to relax. Satsuki smiled, leaning back in the water. It's fine. We're all teammates, after all. Naruto, can you help me with my back? Naruto hesitated for a moment, but when Satsuki turned around and moved her hair out of the way, he quickly nodded, grabbing the soap. Sure, Satsuki, he said, his voice still a little shaky from the earlier teasing. As he began to gently massage her back, Satsuki let out a contented sigh. That feels great. A little harder, though. Naruto's blush deepened, but he complied, pressing his hands a little more firmly into her back. The other girls, watching from a distance, couldn't help but notice the atmosphere, each wondering how much longer they'd all be able to keep their composure.